look where it's going to go, what it's going to be. That picture may be becoming more clear. We'll discuss it across the course of the show today. Some new NIL deals for Alabama football players. Faking injuries, how do we manage it? How do we deal with that moving forward? And part of where college football is headed may actually help us find solutions for that, or at least we'll know where those solutions come from sometime in the near future. Alabama and Auburn 1 versus 2 this weekend in basketball. That's all that game will be referenced as here, not anything else, because that's not a real thing. There was only one Iron Bowl, and that is a football game. So you will not hear that from this show. But where does this rank in the rivalry? What moments do you continue to keep ahead of it? What moments do you think, no matter what, are still going to be behind it? We've never had this in the Southeastern Conference, much less had this from an Alabama and Auburn basketball team where they're going to play their cross-court rival as the number 1 or number 2 team in the nation, with the other being the opposite. So it's one that you look at, and I think it's still new for a lot of us. We don't think this was going to happen. We didn't look at this and expect this to happen. I imagine, Carolina and Duke fans probably anticipate a lot of 1 versus 2s in their time, in their rivalry there. This is not one that I think that we ever thought we would see. A lot of us never thought we would get Auburn and Alabama as being number 1, number 2 in basketball and have the kind of meaning that it does. Still regular season game, of course. Still a lot more to go as far as what could happen the rest of the season. Like Bruce Pearl said when we heard his audio yesterday, you've seen our schedule. It's not going to lighten up after Alabama. Same for Alabama. It's not going to lighten up after Auburn this weekend. But what does it mean to you? How do you view this compared to how you viewed some of the football games, some of the actual Iron Bowls, matchups that we've gotten there, other sports? What happens? What are you going to be dialed into? How are you going to be talking about it? How are you going to be watching it? How different is how you consume Auburn, Alabama basketball now as opposed to 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And I don't just mean being a fan, but just, how you talk about it with your coworkers, how you talk about it with your friends, your text threads about it, social media, different things of that nature. But it has to be one of the top moments in the history of this rivalry, and one that obviously is going to have a lot of meaning moving forward no matter what, because now we're going to have it. And so there's going to be an expectation that we should probably get that again, or at least we're going to want it again. So you be a part of the show, 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX, as we will discuss that throughout the course of today's show. Text in 205-834-9450, tweet in at Mac and Cube, and you can be a part of the show there. We've got Dr. Ben Nimblem from Andrews Sports Medicine coming up at 7:30. He'll discuss this rivalry just a little bit more. Justin Hokanson at 8 o'clock. I want to ask him about the health of Janai Broome, just kind of where he thinks that is, because it was one of my takeaways of the Auburn-Florida game. I didn't feel like he was impacted as much in the Vanderbilt game, but you just kind of wonder, is this going to be a lingering injury where if it gets tweaked possibly earlier in the game, that all of a sudden he's not going to be able to do the things that he was capable of doing if something didn't go wrong early on? Is that just going to kind of be how we're managing this, dealing with this moving forward, as far as that ankle injury that he had where he missed a couple of games earlier in the season? May get some recruiting updates from Hokanson as well as far as Auburn football is concerned. Wimp Sanderson, the coach, with us every Thursday at 9 a.m. So he'll be with us there thanks to Coke and Piggly Wiggly. He always joins us. And then Dennis Dodd, kind of on this situation of where college football is headed, where it's going. And Dennis Dodd has an article out yesterday on kind of a potential new governing body in college football. And it's not just the entire landscape of college football that's changing, but sometimes inside certain states, certain areas, different governments making changes. State Representative Joe Lavorne of Auburn introduced House Bill 240, the Competitive Edge NIL Tax Cut Act, yesterday. It would make Alabama athletes, not just University of, but everyone in the state, NIL earnings exempt from state taxes. It just means more. If you didn't think we loved college football in the state, we now have a state representative attempting to allow athletes to be exempt from paying their taxes on NIL money. Why? Because we want people to want to come here and play college sports. Or high school sports, I guess. Because we know recruiting is real there as well. Are you okay with this? Hey, listen, I'm all for athlete empowerment. Even the fake guys running around saying that they're, directors of player empowerment groups and player unions, which there are no such real things.
Overall, yeah, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I mean, there are states that don't have state income taxes, so if you're creating an incentive like this to...
But would you not say that the infrastructure of those states have been built to circumvent that? Like they know that that's not going to be there? And now all of a sudden, just because you play baseball at South Alabama or basketball at UAB or football at Auburn, no, you don't worry about that. Because you get that $1.5 million deal that's quote unquote NIL from your collective, which you're getting $37,000 a month or whatever it is. No, you don't have to pay tax on that. You're good.
And while the states as a whole may be able to handle their entire citizenry doing that, we're talking about what? A couple hundred people or so? And while, yeah, the state may miss out on that money, I mean...
Okay, so Ohio State paid their football team $20 million. Let's just say Alabama's close at 15. Auburn's not far behind at 14. No, don't worry about it, guys. You're good. You don't need to pay tax on that.
Yeah, because if the teams are as good as they're expected to be, bringing in that kind of roster, look what the fallout that's going to happen with Ohio State. There's going to be a lot more fan excitement. They're going to be spending more money, and thus more tax dollars will come back into it. So, yeah, okay, you don't get it on the front end on that part, but if you do everything else right.
San Antonio for the Final Four, or San Francisco for the national championship game.
Well, maybe, but still, the next year, like
how many more advocate with you here. I don't think I care that much about it, but I do think it's dumb.
I don't disagree, but also sometimes you need an advantage, and I'm
that's
okay
all it is.
Let's
call it what. Yeah. I appreciate that you're not trying to make it from some sort of a governmental standpoint. You're just saying, hey, listen, man, we're trying to get an edge. I mean, Eli Drinkwitz went to the governor of Missouri, got their deals changed. Georgia just passed legislation last week, got their deals changed. How? Why? To be able to better their chances of getting recruits into their schools.
And let's be honest, everyone out there finds ways to fudge their numbers and cheat on their taxes. Why can't they do it?
John Saber said that, not me. Just so if the folks are listening, that was only John.
Look, TurboTax gives me audit protection. So I'm not saying I put down incorrect numbers. What I'm saying is
for TurboTax, by the way.
Certain things. Oh, that's fine. When we do Tax Act, pass.
What's wrong with Tax Act? I don't
It ain't
know.
TurboTax. I'll tell you that.
I use Tax Wife, so I don't know. That's the only thing. Hey, I was told her, it's like, you got your master's in accounting for something. Use it. Because we hadn't used it for a job. I'll send you over to Brett Dudney. He'll probably get that whole thing worked out, figured out. I think it goes further in the whole. And listen, I understand that in April, that government's going to make a massive decision on the future of college sports, not just college football. So for me to sit here and say that it's kind of silly for the government to get involved with our college sports in general, even though I do think that some of these things is a bit of a waste of time with more than likely bigger problems taking place in other places. You talk to administrators in high places, and they'll tell you straight up, we need help. We need help from the government. And this is just a small area of that. This is a branch of that, a limb of that. You want to get better recruits here? We need your help. We need all the help we can get. Because I imagine this didn't just come out of nowhere for State Representative Joe Lavorne. He had conversations with somebody that said, man, we lost this quarterback to Georgia Tech. They didn't have to pay taxes on that NIL. Something happened. Somebody went to him and said, how did we lose a defensive end from Spain Park? No taxes on his collective money. Something took place there. And Joe said, by God, I'll fix it. Watch this. Pen to paper.
Not on my watch.
Do they pound gavels in the legislature? I don't know what they do to prove a point.
I guess.
What do they do to make a statement? I don't know. They pop their paper. Watch this.
Only big arm ball people do that.
We're not. No more taxes in our state. And then again, I don't know how much difference this makes. Like if you're going to Ryan Williams 2 years ago and he says, okay, you've got a deal for 1.5 for me, but I got 1.4 over there with no state income tax. Going to Baylor. I mean, is it going to make a huge difference? Sure, it's a little bit of a selling point. And if you're up there in the seven figures, like a couple of athletes are, probably not as many as we would like us to believe that they are. Yeah, it gives you a little edge. Gives you some help. Competitive Edge NIL Tax Cut Act. Sounds like a baseball stat. It sounds like a PFF stat. We're making things up now.
So CE, NIL.
Just put a lot of fancy words on it and make it long. It sounds really cool. Oh man, this is going to change the game. This will be a game changer.
Senilta. Actually, sounds like a some kind of pill that you see a commercial for, like 60 seconds with people dancing.
Oh boy. All right, so and we'll talk about this a little bit later in the show with Dennis Dodd, but Dennis Dodd basically is throwing it out right now that there's going to be a CEO of college sports. That is coming. Who that will be, how they will execute their power, still unknown. Exactly how it's going to look, not sure, not certain. But apparently it is on its way. A commissioner, a CEO, a president, a director of, whatever that is apparently coming to college sports. That this breakaway that we have discussed and talked about and essentially known in the back of our minds, but probably have not come to the reality of with ourselves that it's going to take place and it's going to be a thing, is maybe closer than we think. An LLC among the 4 power conferences that will oversee implementation once the House settlement actually takes place. The option for schools to establish an annual $20.5 million pot of cash to pay athletes. So who is that person? Number one, Nick Saban, the obvious choice that a lot of people are going to go to. I would say problem number one with Nick Saban being the president, CEO, director of, czar of, if you will, wizard of, sorcerer of, you're not going to be able to pay him as much money as he's getting right now. That's number one. Now, maybe we can implement a bill in which the state that he resides, that employees of new college football foundation or director of sports entitlement doesn't have to pay taxes, and that can maybe help him find a way to become that guy. Or maybe there is so much goodness in his heart that he would take an 80% pay cut to go be this guy because he feels like the direction of the sport is that important. But that would be my biggest concern. I would love for him to have it. I think he'd be great at it. And I think he would be, if you could pick anyone, the top candidate for it. However, I don't think from a salary standpoint, you're going to get close to what he's getting now. But the other question on this is, do you like this? Do you like to hear this? Are you excited about this? Do you like the fact that college sports could be heading in a corporate direction of 4 conferences saying, I always think it's dangerous to hear we'll govern ourselves. And you say, well, that's what this director is for, right? Well, who's paying his salary? Like, do we really think Roger Goodell governs the NFL? Honestly, do you think Roger Goodell makes the decisions for the NFL? If there's going to be a new franchise, does he sit there at his desk and say, London or no London? Let me see. And then one day he says, yep, going to Europe. Or do all the other owners make that decision for him? And then if you really dive into it and talk to people in the know, they would tell you that it's a little less than half the owners that are actually the decision makers because they're the ones that yield the power. So it sounds great in theory. And I do like the fact that if you go to Dennis Dodd's article at CBS Sports, he talks about that not only setting up this CEO, this LLC, that an implementation of an arm that would be able, an arm of enforcement, essentially, that would be able to self-govern, that would be able to punish, that would be able to investigate. But once again, it's still your people that are doing that. Like the old internal investigation to the local police department. Ruh-roh. How much trouble that guy really getting in? Who's looking into it? Well, his old partner he used to ride with for 15 years, who's now in internal affairs. Oh, got it. So he's good. Just saying. Do we like this split? Because Greg's not here today or tomorrow, but Greg will tell you this is great. Greg loves this. He wants this. He wants the NFL light. I think I'm a little torn on it. I just right out of the gate, I don't think I like it very much. I don't think I'm excited about it. Because I think the further we get away from what we fell in love with is going to make it more difficult to consume further down the road. Not right now, because it's in a great place right now. Sport's healthy right now. People are excited about it right now. But number one, the saturation is real. The amount of it on can work against it at times. And then when you also put in other leagues, other abilities to view at different points in time, it can become a little bit nonstop. So for people who are trying to get into it, I wonder, is that always going to be good? I also wonder that, does that prevent people, and I'm talking 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, that ability to fall in love with one team, one league, one part of it, is that also going to be very difficult compared to what we had when we were growing up? And is that going to make it more difficult to really love, to really fall in love with? The way that all of us did that made us rabid fans that we are today. We don't know the answers to these questions. But we do know that we fell in love with it at a certain point in time. And what we don't know is that are people going to fall in love with it in a similar fashion now in the next 5 years, the next 10 years than we did for the last 30, 40, 50. Because those little hurdles and obstacles that college football overcame for a long time were parts of what made us love it more. And it got a little bit more interesting and a little bit more interesting and a little bit more interesting. And now, never before, when South Carolina and Arkansas joined the SEC in 92, did anybody say we're turning it off? When we went to the BCS, did anybody say, no more, I'm out, I hate this? Never said that. When Alabama won the Sugar Bowl in 92, did anybody say, fake champion, not watching? Now, maybe 04 with the Auburn, BCS, USC, Oklahoma thing. A couple people said it, but I don't think it was real. We went to the 14 playoff. Anybody say, that's it, no more, can't do it anymore? We've actually heard people say that the last couple of years. And it feels like more and more people are trying to say it every year. 12 teams, too much football. I'm over it. I'm exhausted. Can't watch it all. NIL, my team doesn't have a chance. It's not fair. It's not right. I'm walking away. Can't do it. Or I'll watch my team, but that's it. Hadn't been that way very often. Now, it used to be you'll watch your teams, you'll get your CBS game, your Jefferson Pilot game, and your ESPN Prime game, and you'll like it, and that's going to be it. But there are things that are being said now that I have not heard in my lifetime about the consumption of college football. So does that make it treacherous where we're headed as to how much people are going to fall in love with it? Don't know the answers. 800-239-9569. You want to get in. Talk to Dr. Benton Imblem on the other side. A little bit of Auburn, Alabama basketball. Wimp Sanderson will talk to us about it at 9. Justin Hokanson will talk to us about it at 8. And following up that conversation, Dennis Dodd's article that he's got at CBS Sports, he'll be with us at 9:30 this morning. But we'll begin talking about Auburn and Alabama in basketball this weekend, 1 versus 2 next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning right after this. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. No Greg today or tomorrow. He is at a bachelor party. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Okay.
When's the last time you were invited to a bachelor party?
16
years ago.
6-ish years or so ago. I think it was 2019.
I mean, it's been.
Yeah.
My friends got married young, man. Like
Really?
Other than my best friend who got married the year after I did, all my teammates got married really young. Like Rob Pate got married in college.
Yeah.
We went to his wedding as teammates. So most of my teammates got my friends out of high school got married pretty young, and so that ended for me pretty quick.
Maybe that's for the best because I don't know if you'd want a bachelor party at this stage in life.
No, I would.
No, be able to like attend one and all the stuff you have to go through with. I was like, oh, that's a lot.
No, I mean I'd still be going to bed at 11.
Yeah,
and that'd be late. Good night, guys. I mean, I don't drink, so that wouldn't be a lot of fun for me. I'd be. Yeah.
Or we're starting at 10. Well, I'm done at 11, so.
I guess I was invited to Conrad's bachelor party, Conrad Thompson, but I was like, I can't. There's just no way. I'm sure it was a blast. I know it was a blast, but I can't do that. But yeah, it's been a minute since I was invited to a bachelor party, and maybe that's a me problem. Maybe there have been those, and they just didn't want me there. That's probably also fair.
So you're saying you want young friends, so you can go back to bachelor parties?
No,
you miss
I don't
that
need
life.
wedding invites. I don't need bachelor parties. I don't need any of that. I don't need 30th birthday parties. Y'all can have them. Y'all can have all of them. Good luck with them. Enjoyed them at one point in life, but that was a different life ago. 800-239-9569. You want to get into the show. 205-834-9450. Talking Auburn, Alabama in hoops. What does it mean to the rivalry? Where would you place this moment in the history of the rivalry? Is this ahead of some of the great Iron Bowls that we have seen? Are there moments that this cannot eclipse for you? Whether it's 2013 Iron Bowl, 85 Iron Bowl, whatever those are, how does this going to compare? How do you think this is going to compare to some of the great moments that we've seen between Auburn and Alabama teams historically in our lifetimes? Some SEC hoops last night quickly. Missouri smashes Oklahoma last night, 82-58. Mark Mitchell goes for 25 points, career high, 13 of 18 from the free throw line. He had 7 rebounds as well. Missouri's 18-1 at home this season. By the way, that's the best home win percentage in the Southeastern Conference. Oklahoma's lost 3 straight by double digits. First time losing 3 straight by double figures since 2023, so it hadn't been that long. Also, Duke takes out Cal last night, 78-57, 3-0 after that loss to Clemson. The Duke Blue Devils are 14th win by 20 or more points this year for Duke. That's 3 more than any other Division I team. Cooper Flagg, 27 points, 9 for 9 from the free throw line last night, had 5 boards. It's his 5th 25-point game this season. He is second in all of Division I with those. Tyrese Proctor had 18 for Duke last night. For Cal, 15th straight loss to an AP top 5 team. Arkansas takes out LSU last night, 70-58. Things may be beginning to change for Coach Cal just a little bit. 6 straight meeting that's won by the home team in this series. However, it's the 4th win in the last 6 SEC games after they started SEC play 0-5. That's the Hogs, that is. Arkansas, 12 points, marks its largest margin of victory in SEC play this year. Big Z, 25 points, second career 20-point game. 7th straight loss in SEC play for LSU. That's the 3rd longest conference losing streak in the last 10 seasons. Not to be outdone, LSU. South Carolina goes down to Ole Miss 72-68 last night. Ole Miss 17-1 against unranked opponents this year. Only loss came to Memphis. Matthew Morrell, 10 points. He now has 1,689 career points. That's best for 8th all-time on the Ole Miss scoring list. Passing? Anyone? Anyone?
Michael Sam.
Keith Carter.
Oh, my other guess. Okay.
Second time this year that we have mentioned Keith Carter in an Ole Miss basketball update. He had 1,682 points as an Ole Miss basketball player. He'll be 9th all-time now. In South Carolina, 0-11 in SEC play. Like Greg McElroy always says, every league needs bottom feeders. And it doesn't have to be the same one every year. sometimes it can change.
Had to get rid of Frank Martin. Okay.
Sometimes it can be a different team. That's their longest losing streak in SEC play in program history. 8 straight losses against AP-ranked opponents. They're 1-10 overall against those this year. Chris wants to chime in on NIL taxes. Welcome into the show, Chris. How you doing today?
Hey, it's all good, Cole. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, man, but I kind of see why it's happening. And we've been on this NIL trip, and I'm partial on your side, but I mean it's necessary. It is what it is. I mean, and when it comes to NIL altogether, though, I mean you can't really be upset about it because this is the way of the world now. It tastes, sure, you can say it leaves a lasting taste in your mouth, but I mean.
Well, I mean, first off,
Chris,
I'm definitely not upset about it. I don't really care. I just think it's dumb that we're spending our government time on this. The other reason that I think it's dumb is that April the 7th, when this whole legislation is supposed to come down and begin to start revenue sharing, how much does this even matter at that point? Because the fake NIL is supposed to go away then. So if that's the case, I mean, how much are people really getting in real NIL money? There's not a ton of athletes that are getting real NIL money at that point.
I mean, hey, and I've been meaning to bring that up a while. It's like if you think of a quarterback that can make an NIL deal worth $1 million, what about an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman that's a 5-star blue chip talent? Shouldn't they make just as much?
I don't know about just as much because you could say shouldn't Penei Sewell be making as much as Jared Goff, but he's not going to.
Yeah, but to say his majority of skill players should be the top end all be all of the topper echelon. I mean, those skill players don't really play a decent game without a decent lineman or a linebacker or a running back to help them out.
But we also know what the market is, and the market's going to dictate that. So it's unfortunate. Now, I mean, Trent Williams making a lot more than Brock Purdy, but that's a Brock Purdy deal problem. So, but Ryan Williams is going to get his Sally Hansen deals. They're going to be real. That's not going to be all from the collective. I mean, some of these guys are going to get real NIL deals and real NIL dollars. It's just if you're going to say that it's going to be untaxed and then it's going to be, the collective money that may or may not be distributed in the future, why are we wasting our time on this? We don't know what it's going to look like. Take a break, come back. Dr. Ben Nimblem from Andrews Sports Medicine next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 7:33. It is Thursday, February 13th. So today's the day to go to the summit and get your vase from Bromberg's. You'll get the free bouquet of flowers with the engraved pendant as well. Tomorrow, Mountain Brook Store does that. Dr. Ben Emblem joins us now on the Buyers Right Hotline from Andrews Sports Medicine, victory over injury for all your health needs. Andrews Sports Medicine, they've helped me, they can help you. And Dr. Ben Emblem takes care of all the Auburn athletes, so you know they're great. Dr. Ben Emblem, you grew up in Dothan, Alabama. You did your undergrad at the University of Alabama. Before we get into anything medically, you understand what this rivalry is. You know what it means. You've been around it. You've seen it. To have 1 versus 2 in basketball, what does this mean for the state? What does this mean for the rivalry, in your opinion?
I think that question is still unanswered. Traditionally, this was the most boring weekend of the year in Alabama. Hunting season is over. Super Bowl's come and gone. College football's passed, and there was never a 1 versus 2 in basketball, at least in my lifetime. So it's huge. I mean, everybody's talking about it. Kids are talking about it. Patients in the clinic are talking about it. So it's quite an experience yet to come. I'm excited to see what it brings.
I can only imagine when you're heading down to clinic on Wednesday nights at Auburn, or when you've been around this basketball team, be it for games, practice, treatment, anything like that, or getting guys in the office. It's just it's a different feel for where they have been this year. Obviously, have been number 1 for multiple weeks. We know the energy that Bruce brings. Just being around it a little bit, what is sort of special about how he manages his basketball team, the attitude, the demeanor of a Bruce Pearl coach team?
Yeah, so I see the team quite often. We see them before the game at times. A good experience I had the other weekend, I was down there before the Florida game, and you know, Coach Pearl is usually real jovial and loud and outspoken, and you know, he's kind of the life of the party, if you will. And I walked through the locker room before the game, and he was so dialed in, writing up on the dry erase board, you could have thrown $1,000 bill out there and he wouldn't even seen it go by. He was locked in. So yeah, I'd assume he's probably the same this week, and usually most teams are a product of their coach, and generally speaking, they're going to be the same way.
We know that earlier this year, Janai Broom had the ankle issue and he missed a little bit of time. And this, I want to clarify, this is in no reference to his specific injury or what he's dealing with, but I had high ankle sprain in spring practice at Auburn. And I mean, it's still, that thing still cracks and grinds today. It still bothers me, 35 years later. Why is that specific injury just so difficult to manage and deal with compared to you have a knee scope, you get it cleaned up, and you're good to go? You have an ACL repaired, and you get back pretty close to 100%. And, you have Tommy John surgery. Some people come back better, stronger, and they throw the ball faster than they were before. Why is the high ankle sprain one that just seems to linger more so than anything else?
The high ankle sprain is more of a problem because it involves the outside part of the ankle at a point where the ankle does more than just hinge, front and back. It rotates, it glides, it hinges front and back, and that ligament complex that makes up the quote unquote high ankle it has to do a lot, and it does more than just hold the ankle in one plane. So it's really a multi-axial or like a universal joint in a vehicle. There's just a lot more to it than just a simple ligament complex like in a knee, for example. So while it sounds simple, just being an ankle sprain, it's extremely complex, and it can take a long time to recover from.
It just seems like something that's like almost kind of a constant headache. And we know that, if it weren't for that, Norman Waltrip wouldn't be on the map. Like, we wouldn't even know who he was if it wasn't for tightrope. I mean, that's just like, thankfully for him.
He would just be playing golf. That's it.
Well, he still does that. So it's I mean, that's not a real thing. But being around Auburn athletics, I mean, you've seen what's happening so far with this basketball team. What's the vibe with the rest of kind of Auburn athletics, with what Butch is doing with baseball? He's going to join us on the show tomorrow. Obviously, you've been around Coach Freeze. This is your first year as the full-time orthopedic surgeon under Auburn athletics. Where do you see the future of some of what the other coaches are doing? Well,
I mean, as football goes, I mean, the best predictor of of outcomes in football is your recruiting. You can't win without good players. That's one key element, and they've certainly recruited well, much more significantly as they have in the past several years. So that's certainly off to a good start. I can tell you that. All the players seem to be energized and, eager to kind of get started in the off season. So from my perspective, when I see them, it all looks extremely positive. Baseball always is pretty dialed in, and you're right. Butch does a good job. I mean, heck, golf. Look, I mean, they're national championship contenders. So golf, baseball, basketball. I mean, it's pretty special, really, at both schools. To be honest with you, they're up there at the top level with every sport.
I wanted to give you a chance to speak on Sanford athletics also. You spent 10 years as the team physician there at Sanford, and I know what they do from now a facility standpoint with some of the upgrades that they're getting, what Chris Hatcher does for football, what Bucky's doing in basketball. Obviously, it's just an athletic department top to bottom, I think, under great leadership. What was just share sort of your experience being a part of that for a decade? Yeah,
Sanford was a great 10 years of my career. I started taking care of Sanford right out of fellowship, right out of training, and got to know Chris Hatcher. He was, Pat Sullivan was the coach there for the first several years, which was an awesome experience. And then Chris came in when Pat retired, and he's a solid guy. He knows all of our guys at Alabama and Auburn. The coaching world in the Southeast and the athletic training world is so small, and people don't realize that. Everybody knows each other. They've worked with each other at some place along the way. Chris Hatcher worked with Kirby Smart at Valdosta State, worked with Jeff Allen at Valdosta State. And it's just, Chris is a great guy. I think he's great for Sanford. Martin Newton has done a fabulous job there. And, that's really the ultimate leader that runs the ship. And bringing in Bucky from Mountain Brook, everybody was a little surprised by a high school coach making a transition to college, but he's truly a college coach from a analytical standpoint, and he's done extremely well there at Sanford. And I honestly, as much as I'd like to see him stay there, he'll probably be moving on at some point.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about it. When you look at this Auburn basketball team, kind of being around them, is there something different that sticks out? Just kind of seeing the way they interact, seeing the way that they vibe, seeing sort of the demeanor, the attitude of this basketball team as we head into 1 versus 2 Saturday at Coleman Coliseum?
From my perspective, they're just real. They're very. They don't take no for an answer. Janiah Broome, for example, when he hurt his ankle. Well, let's go back when he hurt his shoulder. This day and time, he could have hung it up. He could have called it a year and kind of got 100% healthy and looked out for his pro career, but that he didn't even really miss a game. For the most part, with the ankle injury that he had, he missed a couple games, but in the grand scheme of things, that's really nothing. Other guys have had little tweaks along the way, but nobody's back down. They're just, they have that perseverance factor that I think is a key element in making a run deep into the tournament, and I think they're poised to do that because of that.
Well, Dr. Benton Emblem is joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline from Andrews Sports Medicine. Dr. Emblem, we appreciate the time today. Obviously, we encourage anybody dealing with any sort of sports injury to come see you guys. We know that you're the absolute best. That's why you take care of Auburn athletics, and Andrews Sports Medicine serves Alabama athletics as well. Thanks for hopping on with us and chatting a little bit today.
You bet. You guys have a good day, and thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. Dr. Benton Emblem joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline, victory over injury for all your injury needs, specifically with anything athletic. Andrews Sports Medicine. They've helped me. They can help you. They help Auburn. They help Alabama. They are the absolute best. We're fortunate to have them here locally in Birmingham, Alabama. We'll get to a break, come back with our top 3 right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. 7:46 Thursday, February 13th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Going to get to our top three here in just a moment. Sanford goes down to Chattanooga yesterday in basketball, 82-68. Bulldogs go to 19-7. Chattanooga goes to 18-8 on the season. Good to see Molly Robinson doing some sideline there for Sanford basketball last night, but a tough night for the Bulldogs at home. Only a couple of home games were made for the Sanford Bulldogs. We were just talking to Dr. Ben Emblem about just kind of what a great job that everybody there at Sanford does. And this was a team that had tournament hopes. Looked like tournament may be a possibility, and going to have to do some damage in the SoCon tournament if they want to find a way to get there. But still some work to be done for Bucky McMillan and that group as they go down. And that was a Chattanooga team that they knocked off earlier in the season. And last night just did not look good. Shooting woes for Sanford last night. Chattanooga shoots 54% from the floor, 8 of 21 from behind the three-point line. Sanford did out-rebound Chattanooga last night, but just 5 of 25 from the three-point line, 17 of 24 from the free throw line. So you had opportunities and just couldn't get shots to go down. So I'll tell you about Game Day Men's Health. If you're not feeling well, if you're feeling down, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. If you are getting poor sleep, if you feel on edge, you feel like you have low energy, it could be the effects of low testosterone, and Game Day Men's Health wants to help you with that. They can help you feel better. And it's easy. Just go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now, set up that free consultation. You'll go in, you get a free testosterone test, free PSA test right out of the gate, and they're going to have a baseline of where your health is. Going to know exactly where you stand from a health perspective and then give you different options of what they can do for you moving forward. Weight loss programs that they offer as well. And you can save 10% on any of those programs they offer at Game Day Men's Health. Locker room environment, great people, low stress, not going to try to push you in anything that you don't need. Holistic approach to health and wellness. Here's what sets them apart. Minimal upfront cost for the programs they offer. So you're not going to have to pay an arm and a leg and pay 4 figures to just get going in some of these programs at Game Day Men's Health like you're going to at some of the other places around town. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Just go check them out today. See what they can do for you. Top 3 comes to you each and every day. Sometimes sports, sometimes not. Can be anything, can go any direction. And with Alabama and Auburn being 1 versus 2 in basketball this weekend, I ask you for your top 3 moments of the rivalry in its history. Once again, doesn't necessarily have to be sports. It could be Harvey Updike poisoning trees.
Okay.
I would think that. I hope that's not a top 3 moment.
It could be anything.
It's got too much Bama in them.
Yeah, I mean, could be Corey Grant transferring to Auburn. I mean, it could be anything you want.
Yeah.
Top 3 for me. Number 1, and listen, this was not number 1, but 3 going up to 1. This is always weird, and it's always an odd one. It's the 1998 Iron Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Played in that game, and to be able to come home and play in an Iron Bowl at Legion Field, for me, somebody who went to games there, went to that game there multiple times as a kid growing up a couple miles away, used to take the Max bus down to Legion Field and just walk around and tailgate. Yes, we lost, and that was tough, and that was awful, but just being a part of it, specifically that being the last one there, one of my top memories as a college football player that I will forever have. Number 2, obviously, kick six. I think that's one of those sports moments of where were you? What were you doing? How did you watch it? How did you see it, consume it, that will just live forever? I was in the broadcast booth in Lafayette, Louisiana with Tom Dorr.
Okay.
And as I have stated before, the broadcast booth is a wooden shed built out in front of the actual press box that you call games from. Thankfully, later in the year, so it wasn't 197 degrees as we had suffered in there before earlier in the year. And then number 1, 2000 Iron Bowl. First one in Tuscaloosa over 100 years. 9-0. Won that game, sent us to the SEC championship game. Being a senior, that was actually the first game I started my senior year. And being able to go to Tuscaloosa, get that win as a captain on the team, give the pregame speech, one of my greatest just sports memories in general. But if you're talking about Alabama and Auburn in the rivalry, that's going to be number 1 for me. I don't care what the weather was and how cold you were in the stands. For me, it was incredible, and it was amazing. John?
Number 3 for me is that 2000 Iron Bowl, just the fact that it was back in Tuscaloosa. Because it had been in Birmingham and gone back to Auburn a couple of times,
Yep.
but it hadn't gone back to Tuscaloosa in ages. So sorry that it, for those of you that didn't like the results of that, but the fact that it was now home and home after all these years that's a moment that definitely stood out to me. Number 2, Gravedigger.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was right there for Alabama. All that to do was just win this game, you'd have been fine, and they did not show up. And they were done. They were cooked. There was no way. It was 4th down and a mile and a half, and Jalen Monroe threw a pass that was a 1.5 but still Bond caught it.
Yep.
But number 3, it's the 2013 Iron Bowl, but it's the lead up to it. It's, in essence, what this basketball game is. The fact that it was, I think it was technically 1 versus 4 or 1 versus 5, depending on the poll, whatever you're looking at, but it was winner take all for the Iron Bowl. I don't think we had never had that in the Iron Bowl before. We had whoever the winner needs to win this game to go to the SEC championship, but it was whomever wins the game is going to the SEC championship.
That has not been on the line very often.
Right.
There have been on the line like cannot for one side, but for the winner automatically goes. That has not actually
correct. Yes.
Was not on the line very often.
Yes, and yes, the game not only lived up to the hype, it surpassed it. And yes, absolutely, kick 6 is probably the greatest moment in all sports. We can argue that, but
and then too with Rod Bramlett's call, and the tragic loss of.
But the lead
Rod
up to that, I'm never going to forget because that was just so exciting.
Incredible. Yeah, unbelievable. Damian?
Number 3 for me, I'm going back to the 2019 Iron Bowl.
Way back, yeah.
Yeah, going back to the 2019 Iron Bowl because
see if we can dig up the memory machine.
At that point,
that's last decade. Good God.
At that point, I didn't think that Auburn really had much of a chance, especially with freshman year Bo Nix to go in. And I know, Tua had gotten hurt, that 2019 team. When you look at what was assembled on the Alabama side of things, it really just felt like, yeah, Auburn, like it's a great rivalry. Yeah, it's a great rivalry. Thought it was going to be, plug in Mac Jones. It shouldn't be that much of a drop off. But for Auburn to find a way to win that one with a couple of big defensive plays there, and it's a high scoring affair.
The game was 48-45.
48-45. So it was as advertised, and Auburn pulls off that one. Number 2 for me, the Cam back. And I think a lot of people down here don't forget, but when Mark Ingram fumbled into the end zone, that was all Auburn really needed because it changed everything. Because at that point, you're thinking, oh, Lord, this may be an absolute beatdown in Tuscaloosa. And then Cam Newton, the full second half, the pass to Lutzenkirchen to seal the deal and literally just put the team on his back and say, you know what, I got this. Like, I got this, and Auburn ended up winning that one. And, of course, number 1, kick 6.
Cam back, a great one. That's probably the best sports memory that I have in person with my wife. Because, I was invited to that game by Griff Redmill, a great friend of mine that played at Alabama. And kind of talking to my wife about it. She's like, sure, let's go. And then he said, there's just one kicker to this is that, we're sitting in the Letterman section.
Oh, boy. So I'm guessing there were nice things that were said in the first quarter.
That'd be interesting. So,
maybe
we sat in the Alabama football Letterman section at the 2010 Iron Bowl, my wife and I. And I vividly remember my other 2 friends that went to Auburn with me, Matt Norby, Whitney Polson, texting me at halftime saying they were leaving. Because we all took a car down there together. And I was like, I've kind of seen this team this year. I'm going to give them a shot. I think they might have a little something. And
oh, boy.
Yeah, they left. We didn't. But it was one of those deals where, like, it was cold. And so we kind of had, like, our arms interlocked and something good would happen. And, like, she would squeeze my arm. Yeah. And, like, you would kind of grit your teeth, like, but we couldn't cheer.
Oh, of course not. No.
Right.
And my wife at an Auburn game is an essential cheerleader. She has her shaker. If I call it a pom-pom, she'd get mad. And she's like every cheer in rhythm, in sync, words, all of it. Like she lives the entire game. And she couldn't do any of that at that game. And so to be there in attendance watching it, it's not in my top 3, but that would have been maybe next or right up there as one of the next that I would have talked about because it was pretty cool to be there for that. Specifically where we were.
What
did y'all?
Very different conversations in the first half than the second half. And I'm like, you got to understand, first off, like Griff Redmill is the nicest human being on earth. And he's like, late in the fourth quarter, he's like, y'all can cheer. And I was just like, yeah, no.
It's not worth
Terrible idea.
What were y'all wearing?
It was cold. So I had like a weatherproof jacket think it was like a North Face jacket. So it wasn't
You didn't go
underneath school colors.
Right.
Okay,
It's like
okay.
Auburn gear underneath, but yeah, same for my wife. Like we had coats and I think she had a scarf on, so you wouldn't have known that we had it on. But yeah, just couldn't be that fan that day, but it was pretty cool to be there. By the way, way back in the upper deck also.
Ooh, wow.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Also, for Damien, who usually goes this direction, it is National Cheddar Day, to which, if Craig McElroy was here, would say cheddar makes it better.
It
I
does.
don't believe that that's the direction that the National Day calendar was going for. However, today is
Okay.
that day. I don't know what sense that makes. I don't know who would want that to be a national day. Also, National Galentine's Day.
Galentine's Day.
That's the day before Valentine's Day that single ladies get together and be friends and whatnot.
Is that how the Beyonce song happened?
I think so.
I think so.
So that's the anthem for today. That's today's anthem. Just play that on repeat today.
Yeah.
Get the little triangle squares going in a circle, just over and over. Okay. National Giving Hearts Day.
Giving hearts.
Yep. And National Tortellini Day.
Okay.
So those are all better than yesterday's National Plum Pudding Day, of which I still state that
Yeah.
the national days in our country are maybe the dumbest thing ever put together.
We should celebrate it though.
How do I celebrate? I'll
you know,
celebrate
you get
none
some
of that today.
Plum pudding.
Where do you
anyway.
buy it?
Yeah, right.
I think you have to make it probably.
I'll pass.
Ugh.
Don't want it, but either way.
Plum's probably a bottom 3 fruit.
With what?
I'll eat a plum.
No, that's just
They're good.
Is a date a fruit?
I guess technically.
Put that up there. Gross. What else? What are the worst fruits? Tomorrow, bottom 3. Tomorrow on top 3, bottom 3 fruits.
Actually, I think we've done that before.
Yeah. I don't know if we've done fruits, but yeah, it's the.
We did top 3 fruits.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Buyers Right hotline. Welcome in Justin Hokanson, covers the Auburn Tigers. We were talking top moments in the history of this rivalry, Justin. Where will this rank for you? Just witnessing it, seeing it, knowing what it is, 1 versus 2 in basketball. It's never happened in the SEC, much less for Auburn and Alabama. But the fact that these 2 programs have come to where they are and are actually going to meet in the regular season, holding the 2 top spots in the AP poll, where do you think this is going to rank for most Auburn, Alabama fans?
I mean, I don't see how it's not 1. I mean, I wasn't around for maybe some classic matchups or some good ones in the 80s. There just haven't been a lot, before Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl got there. Certainly in the last 25 years or so, there weren't many, if any, before that. I mean, I think a lot of current fans remember some of those games in the late 2000s, 2010 and 12. Some of those games. I mean, what was that game in Auburn that finished like 47-43? I mean, there's just been some insanely bad and ugly games, and so I don't see how it's not 1. I mean, it's the first SEC 1 versus 2 matchup in the history of the conference, and it's Auburn and Alabama. That's crazy that it's not Tennessee, Kentucky, Kentucky, Florida, or something like that. For Auburn, Alabama to be the first 1 versus 2 matchup in SEC history is just remarkable, and it's just like a culmination of the last 8 years or so of these 2 programs taking basketball seriously. And it'll be cool to watch. And what's crazy though is you like in the back of your head, you're also thinking what March 8th could be. Like I know I am. I'm thinking this is going to be huge because it's 1 versus 2, and we don't know what March 8th will look like in terms of the rankings. But that second game could be even bigger because at that point it could literally be for a banner. It could be for number 1 overall seed. Like that March 8th one could be even crazier. But for now, we just enjoy what Auburn and Alabama will be on Saturday. The whole nation will be watching, and it'll be really cool to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be impressive. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be interesting for so many different reasons. Where do you put the overall health of this Auburn basketball team? Because I thought versus Vanderbilt, Janai looked a little bit better. I still don't know if he has – I mean, he was never Sean Kemp as far as, getting off the floor. But 2 games ago against Florida, it kind of looked like a problem to me. And it feels like, okay, maybe this ankle thing is lingering a little bit more so than we thought after he initially came back. Anybody else, kind of how do you grade it? How do you view it moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly not quite 100%. I mean, I'm with you. Offensively, his strength is, he's really talented. He's crafty on how he gets his shot off. He's got really good touch. But he's never been a guy that's going to sky over you. That's never necessarily been his thing. I sort of look at it defensively. If you watch him at times, there's times where he doesn't attack to try to block the shot. There have been a few times where he sort of gives ground a little bit, either maybe not wanting to get caught up in traffic and go up in traffic and come down again on it, or he just quite can't get the lift. So there's definitely been a few moments where it looks like he lacks a little bit of lift. His efficiency has certainly struggled the last 4 or 5 games, really since coming back. He's still gotten the points and the rebounds, except for Vanderbilt. I don't know what he finished with rebounding wise, but he's missed a lot of shots. I mean, Tennessee, he missed 11. There's another game within the last few that he missed 11. Like he's missing a lot more shots around the rim than he normally does. So I don't know. I'd probably put him at, 80, 85% probably, but he's good enough to play. He's good enough to contribute. He's just not quite 100. But when you're trying to win a championship, you just can't really afford to sit him. I mean, he wants to go. He's good enough to go. And at this point in the season, you're starting to sort of, be banged up a little bit. Chad Baker-Mazzaro's a little bit banged up. Missed some time in the Florida game, and then came back against Vanderbilt. And you could just see Chad's an easy guy to sort of tell when something's off, and he looked like he was just kind of struggling through that game at times, just getting banged up. And so those two guys, they need to try to get back healthy because they're just two really efficient players, two big-time offensive players. But overall, the health, I think, is as good as you can be. I'm sure everybody's a little banged up, but those two guys are so important offensively that if they're banged up and their efficiency is off, that certainly hurts Auburn.
What matchup will you watch, or what aspect of this game will be most important in your mind as far as who can come out on top Saturday in Coleman Coliseum?
Oh boy, I think Denver Jones on Mark Sears will be fun. Now Auburn switches so much that there will be a lot of different guys that'll guard Mark Sears, but Denver Jones has shown himself to be one of the best defensive guards in the country, and Mark Sears is phenomenal. And so I think that matchup will be really interesting to watch. Is Denver on him a good bit? Who's a bigger guard than Mark Sears? Can he at least make things difficult on Mark Sears where he doesn't just go off? Can he limit some of the good looks he gets from three? Can he limit some of the times Mark Sears drives and creates in the way he does? And so I think that will be a really fun matchup to watch. What's funny is the Aiden Holloway storyline, I feel like, is just gone. Like that's just not even in the realm of what we're thinking about because of what these two teams have accomplished. But that'll be kind of fun to see, Aiden Holloway go against his old team a little bit. But I think the Denver Mark Sears one is a good one. And then down low, I mean, Alabama's got some athletic big men, and so I think how Chaney and Dillon and Janai match up against Morey and Diabate and all those guys will be an interesting one. But I think Denver Mark Sears could be fun because, I mean, Sears is the catalyst. So if you can just make things difficult for him, make him a little bit less efficient, that would go a long way in trying to slow them down. Bama's going to score. You just can't let them go crazy or you're just not going to be able to keep up.
I don't think there's any doubt. Is there an individual that has to have a massive game for Auburn to get this win? Do you look at, is it easy as, say, Broom, or does Pettiford have to come in, add something different? What, from an individual perspective, who's at the top of your list as to the most important role to help Auburn be victorious?
Oh, man. Well, yeah, I mean, Broom's the easy one. But I don't know. I go to the front line. When Chaney Johnson and Dylan Cardwell, when they play well, doesn't even necessarily have to be both, at least one of them. When those guys kind of disappear, if they get in early foul trouble, or if they're not efficient, Chaney's not efficient offensively, it hurts. When those two guys are good, Auburn's really good. Auburn's tough to beat if Dylan Cardwell and Chaney play well because you kind of know Janai is going to give you the production. So when Chaney and Dylan have good games, man, Auburn's tough because, again, Miles Kelly's probably going to hit some shots, and Chad Baker will get 8 to 10 or maybe 15 or whatever. Chaney and Dylan are kind of, to me, they're inconsistent at times, and so when they produce offensively and Dylan grabs offensive rebounds, if Chaney does what he does against Vanderbilt, man, Auburn becomes pretty tough to deal with. And so I think those two guys have got an opportunity to really be impactful down low. I mean, Alabama's guards are good. I think Auburn's guards will make some things happen. I don't necessarily look at Pettiford as a guy that has to go off. He's helped Auburn certainly and bailed him out at times. But I look at Chaney and Dylan. The better they play, the more Auburn becomes just really, really tough to beat. If they kind of disappear or struggle, then Auburn, I think, comes back down to the pack a little bit. Those two guys, I think, can really separate in terms of the front line. So I sort of look at Chaney and Dylan. If those two guys play well, I think Auburn's got, a great shot.
Is there a player? Is it just Mark Sears that has to be limited for Alabama? Is it Grant Nelson? Like who do you feel like has to sort of be taken away as far as them becoming a strength for Alabama in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at Mark Sears. They got so many weapons. I mean, they're like Auburn and maybe even more. I think Alabama's roster. I mean, going into the year, I thought Alabama's roster was as good as there was in the league. I mean, I thought that was the best roster, and I still think their roster, Florida when fully healthy, and Auburn, like I think that's the three best rosters. But you look at Alabama, it's hard to not look at Sears as sort of the catalyst. You can't. There's too many weapons. Guys are going to get theirs. What Auburn's been pretty good at this year, except for Florida, is, and maybe Duke, but even Duke, I mean, Con Knippel didn't really do anything that game. So Auburn's been pretty good at taking a few guys away. Maybe one guy gets his, But if like there's three really standout players, they don't all go off. Florida's really the only game where kind of everybody got theirs. Auburn really struggled to get stopped. So if you're Auburn, you got to focus on something. The way that they went into the Florida game is they wanted to try to get the ball out of Walter Clayton's hands. That didn't happen. Walter Clayton went off. I think you just got to make it difficult on Mark Sears. Guys are going to get theirs on Bama's team, but if he is going and moving and doing his thing, they just become nearly impossible to beat, I think, to outscore. So to me, you just got to try to make life difficult on him, get the ball out of his hands some, make him make tough shots, and then sort of live with some of the other stuff that happens. If Grant Nelson gets his, fine. If other guys score, okay. But you can't let Mark Sears just sort of go crazy, get open looks, drive, make it hard on him, and I think you can slow them down and hang in there. So you're not going to get everybody, but try to focus on sort of the catalyst. You look at Oklahoma, and Jeremiah Fears went 1 for 8. Like, Auburn's been pretty good at focusing in on the main guard and making it hard on him, and it's affected everything else, and they've played good defense. I think that's what you got to do, is try to lock in on Mark Sears and at least make it difficult on him, and then let the chips fall where they may.
Justin Hokanson joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline, covers the Auburn Tigers, obviously does it well, has done it for a long time. I want to talk a little bit of football since we've got you. We had Steve Wiltfong on yesterday to discuss kind of national recruiting. There's some momentum with Alabama over the next few weeks of what potentially could happen. We know what's already happened via the portal and traditional high school recruiting for Hugh Freeze. What's sort of on the horizon? What do you look at as next for Hugh Freeze and his staff, and where recruiting may be going, or things, hurdles, obstacles that could be in their way?
Well, I think now, I mean, you're sort of gearing up for Big Cat Weekend, I think, if you're Auburn, which I don't know the exact dates of that, but that's probably where you're at. You're off to a great start in 2026, and you've got a top 5 class already. They've got the big tight end from Texas A&M that decommitted. They're pushing hard for him. I think Big Cat Weekend is sort of the next big push for Auburn, to see who you can get there, and sort of like in the last 2 years, they've made big pushes sort of late spring, early summer, to get some guys in the boat, but they're already off to a good start. But I think Big Cat is sort of the next push. Who can you get there, and who can you sort of plan and set up to get a commitment from that weekend to really set you up going into the summer? But I mean, they're in great shape. I mean, they've been there now a couple of years, relationship building. They're there. They sort of have the infrastructure, all that good stuff. The fact that they didn't go to a bowl certainly didn't hurt them, in recruiting. And I think even nowadays with NIL, it's just, it's less and less on what you do on the field. I mean, it matters, but if you've got the NIL backing and you've got the facilities and you've got the ability to build some relationships, you can get kids. You don't even have to be a world beater on the field, as you can see. So I think everything's sort of building up to Big Cat Weekend. Try to get a few commitments there and go into the summer with a class ranked 3rd. I mean, right now they're 4th or 5th on 3. I can't remember what the updated is, but you go into Big Cat and get a few commitments, they could easily go into the summer with a top 3 class and for 2026. And then, then you got to start to produce something on the field. That's for sure.
Do you expect any heavy lifting in the spring portal window? And if so, what needs to be attacked position wise?
I don't think any heavy lifting. I mean, I think a linebacker, like a middle linebacker, would be a possibility. But I don't think any, I don't know that there's a position or a person that they've got to go get. I think the spring is going to be more about probably, a couple of depth pieces. Of course, you don't ever know what's going to happen in the spring practice, right? If you go through spring practice and some guys leave that you didn't expect, then maybe you got a few extra holes to fill. But I don't think the spring is necessarily a window where Auburn's still trying to go find a starter. I think it'll be more about, hey, we need an additional depth piece at linebacker would be a good one, and then let's see who else leaves, and it would be filling holes. I mean, I think the winter is where you went out and you got Arnold and Eric Singleton and Xavier Chaplin. You got some impact starter type guys. I think spring will be where do we need to fill the holes. But I do think linebacker would be one. I do think a linebacker addition specifically in the middle would be important. I mean, potentially a guy that could start, but I think you still need a little bit of competition there. So that's probably one position I would look at. Can you go land an impactful guy in the spring that could turn into a really good player. Look at Dorian Mousey last year when they landed him. I thought he was a depth piece, and he ended up starting and becoming a really important player. So I think linebacker in the spring is probably one to watch. Can you go get somebody that could really make a difference in the fall?
Anything you're hearing on the quarterbacks that have arrived on campus, the new QBs, just how they're handling things, managing things, how they're progressing?
I mean, I think it's probably too early to tell. I mean, I think I have heard, some things that sort of mirror what Hugh Freeze talked about Deuce Knight in terms of him getting in the film room and sort of, really kind of some people, I don't say surprised in a way of they thought that he wouldn't, but in terms of getting in the film room and like trying to study and trying to be a student and trying to learn, like I think they've been impressed with sort of his diligence and getting in there and trying to learn the offense and study and things like that. But other than that, I mean, Jackson Arnold, I think, has been who they thought he'd be, which is a competitor, a guy that's trying to be a leader. And then that's really it. I mean, Ashton Daniels doesn't come until the summer, which is kind of a bummer. You'd love for him to be getting reps in the spring. But he's an experienced guy. He could probably pick things up when he gets here in the summer. But it's going to be an interesting spring, and I think it's going to turn out good for Auburn because Ashton Daniels not being there, Jackson Arnold, Deuce Knight are going to get a ton of reps. You got Tanner Bailey, the walk-on, who's from South Carolina, who's, he's just probably a scholarship caliber type quarterback, but he's agreed to come as a walk-on. He just grew up an Auburn fan. He'll certainly get reps too, but without Ashton Daniels, I mean, Jackson Arnold and Deuce Knight are going to get plenty of work in the spring, which is probably good for both those guys.
No, they need it. That's one of the things that some of the recruiting experts have told us about Deuce Knight, that still a little bit raw, not necessarily a guy they anticipate to come in and play. And then, I mean, Jackson Arnold, he needs that hard reset. And it's I've said it before, like he's got to be coached. This is not plug and go. He needs some real improvement and needs to see things in a very different way. And Hugh Freeze can do that. It's just got to connect. It's got to happen. So, Justin,
I think that's a great point. I know you got to go, but that's a great point. Hugh Freeze said the other day that he's not sure why Jackson Arnold lost his confidence at Oklahoma, but they got to get it back. I think that's an important thing to remember, is that there is an admission there that something was off with Jackson, and you got to get that back. Like, I think that's an admission of as good as he can be. You do got to get him back to feeling like he can be the 5-star that he was, and I think that's an important part of this.
100%. Good stuff. Thanks for joining us, man. Always enjoy it. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Thanks. See you guys.
Justin Hokanson joining us there on the Buyers Right Hotline. For all your insurance, financial, HR needs, it's Buyers Right Insurance, a Higginbotham partner. Justin brought up spring football. It's actually not far away. Some spring games have already been scheduled. Should they be? Will they be in the future? And we could have a massive problem coming with television. We'll discuss both of those next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. What service do you use to watch basic television? I think it's cool for a lot of people. We're going to have the people that say, I got the rabbit ears. Okay, that's great. But there are things that are not on Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS that need to be consumed, that we want to consume. Tried to continue Severance again last night.
And?
Didn't get any better.
Okay.
My wife said, I think this is just going to be one of those things where we're constantly asking ourselves what's going on. And if we're okay with that, then just move forward. Just go with it. See if that works out. I have YouTube TV. Have for a while.
Same.
Through all the increases. All 11 of them, I feel like. Well, do you remember what it was when you got in? I think it was $49 a month when I got in.
I want to say it was $64 when I got it.
Yeah. It's a little more expensive than that. Now, speaking of double ups, I think they've doubled me up since that has started. But we could be staring down the barrel of a real problem with YouTube TV. How many of you also utilize YouTube TV to consume your basic television? Allegedly, John, and like the first 6 people that responded to this on Twitter say that they utilize YouTube TV. I don't know if it's the go-to. I don't know where we are as far as subscribers across the board. Maybe Damien can research that and see like who. Like Greg still has DirecTV. I don't know many of those people anymore. I don't feel like there are a ton of those out there. Maybe your sports bars, whatever. I don't.
It feels like the more preferred one is a streaming platform of some sort, whether it be YouTube TV, Sling, whatever, something. Most people, I don't want to say have cut the cord. They've just shifted the cord from a cable outlet like Charter, Spectrum, Xfinity to a YouTube, something like that.
Now, I do think that subscribers for YouTube TV in our part of the country probably is hurt a little bit. And some people might think it's crazy, but they're like Braves baseball.
Right.
You don't get it on YouTube TV.
Yeah.
So a lot of people might say, nope, not going to go. I can't go there.
Landrum famously pays for YouTube TV half the year because when Braves roll around, he says he stops it and pulls up Tubi or something. I don't remember what he does. Sling, he does something half the year, and YouTube
you can
the other
pause
half.
your service, I think, which makes it a little bit easier to do. But those are things that I would just get the other one and then have
and
both and pay extra and be an idiot. But yeah, that's kind of where I would go. According to Google, Comcast is still the largest cable provider in the United States. Xfinity, obviously, its flagship brand. So Charter Communications would still be second. Verizon is in there for some people. But most people chiming into the show right now, like Deuce May, are saying that they're YouTube TV users. Here's the problem. How many days away is March 18th from today? Like 32, something like that? I don't know the exact days that we have. March 18th, a pretty significant day for a lot of us in our world. By the way, Michael Smith tweets in Apollo TV.
That's news to me. Maybe it's worth researching. I don't know.
Sounds awesome, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Does that mean, is that like Elon's new TV service? Like it comes down from space?
I was thinking Apollo Creed.
By the way, what did we think of the new T-Mobile commercial during the Super Bowl? Saying that they're going to be off his satellites now.
And stuff?
I thought it was really cool until the very end when it said, if you can see the sky, you have service. To which I immediately thought, so everyone at that game right now, no service.
Uh-huh. So we wouldn't have service.
No service here.
No.
In your car, some service when you lean over.
Maybe.
If you like lean to the left, service. Lean to the right, no service. Like what does that mean?
That means you've had T-Mobile for quite some time because that's how it used to be.
Drive through tunnel, no service. Out of tunnel, service. What exactly does that mean? I don't. So if you're sitting in class or if you're at work, don't expect text messages.
Sorry, nope, can't do it.
If you're in the middle of the Mojave Desert, service. Middle of the Pacific Ocean, service. At work, at cubicle, no service. And if you're at Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the hole is open, some service, all service. How does that work? Because you can see parts of the sky, but not all of it.
Right. It depends on where the satellite is too.
Okay. Just Matters tweets in basic TV, a digital antenna. I think you people are incredible that do that. And congratulations to you. I just think that it's.
How do you get ESPN then?
You don't.
Right. That's what we're asking.
There are some Hulu TVs that are coming in.
Okay.
There are some Xfinities that are coming in. Spectrum is in there, but the majority are YouTube TV. To which the problem that I am about to explain to you might be a little bit scary. YouTube TV tweeted out, this is their Twitter account, 13 hours ago, for our members, we work hard to bring you content you love, delivered the way you want. Despite our best efforts, like if you're tweeting this out, it's not your best effort.
Correct, right.
We've been unable to reach a fair deal with Paramount to keep their channels on YouTube TV.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Paramount tells them like I tell my kids, YouTube TV, life ain't fair. You want Yellowstone, dang it, pony up. We've been unable to reach a fair deal with Paramount to keep their channels on YouTube TV, and their channels may be unavailable tomorrow, a.k.a. today.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I haven't gone to it here in studio to see if I still have it.
Yeah, I woke up to that email. I was like, oh boy, here we go.
We understand how frustrating and disruptive this is for our users. We're committed to continuing conversations with Paramount to advocate for you. Thank you, YouTube TV. You know how you could advocate for me? Stop bumping your prices up. That'd be the best advocation possible. If no agreement is reached for an extended time, we'll offer members $8 credit. You can watch Paramount shows, movies on the Paramount Plus streaming service starting at $7.99 a month. You can't be serious with this. So you're going to give me the equivalent of what it would cost to go buy Paramount Plus so I can watch what? Notre Dame Navy?
Yeah, I mean,
or the one NFL game?
Uh-huh. That's what they're telling you. Guess you're not a Bar Rescue fan.
March 18th is significant because that is the first day of the NCAA tournament. And for those who had maybe not thought this out, us YouTube TV folk will not have the ability to consume it. Now, maybe the March Madness app with the boss button, we can all go watch it there. But on our regular YouTube TV viewing screens, if this goes through, we would not have it.
33 days from now.
Okay. I have confidence that it gets done.
Yeah.
Now, I also have confidence that our prices are going to be going up right afterwards.
Of course, yes. After that, yeah.
Has there been one of these that didn't get done for a really long time? I know we've had these shenanigans of right before the season kicks off, like NBC and somebody didn't get along, and all of a sudden, like some game wasn't on for somebody.
Yeah.
We've had that before, but
the last couple of years, yeah.
Has there been one that really went for an extended period of time?
Not for like months. No, right. I don't believe so. No. I feel like the last one that just happened, it was ESPN and
somebody, because it was like the day before Labor Day or something, like the first day of college football season.
And it went on for like several days. It wasn't just like, oh yeah,
they didn't get the game at halftime.
No.
They didn't get those games that day.
But it was a good, because I think it was almost a week, because I think the NFL started next week. People were like, well, hold on now. Now we got to get some stuff.
All right, so John Dietz also tweets in, YouTube TV, you can easily cancel and restart service. I will likely cancel after BB season. Is that basketball or baseball?
Oh, I was thinking Red Ryder. That's a little bit of ways from now, but okay.
And restart for college football. So what do you
do otherwise? Maybe he just streams otherwise.
I guess it's just like Netflix, Apple TV Plus, whatever else.
Which, of course, got that email, too, that Netflix is going up.
Again?
Yeah.
We're canceling it. I'm getting out of this. I don't watch it enough. My kids don't watch it anymore.
Twice in a week. This and YouTube is like, oh, okay.
My wife is going to say no because she watches all the dumb shows on there. Selling Sunset, Sunset Sales, Real Estate Extraordinaire on the West Coast, whatever the hell they are. All the stupid ones. So we're not going to be able to delete it.
As of right now, the Paramount stuff is still on YouTube. So either they reach an agreement or maybe they're waiting till like 8 o'clock Pacific time.
Clayton Gill tweets, YouTube TV, if not for Sunday Ticket, I probably would not have it. Which that makes sense. But I mean,
right.
I I was a Sunday ticket subscriber for a decade. It does me no good anymore. I'm just not able to consume it on Sundays because I'm getting ready for Monday's show. But
I'll give YouTube TV credit. The tactic of we'll discount you and then you can take that money and just get Paramount that way. That's a smart tactic. I don't know how many people actually utilize it and then be more upset if the stuff's not on there, but I will give them credit in going that route. That's a smart way to go. It ain't our fault.
at
Look,
least
we're giving you money.
Yeah, they're trying something.
Yeah.
All right, and I'll play the other side of it here. Richard Poff tweets in, Cole! You just said, if you want me to be happy, stop bumping up my price, quote unquote. And you're right, of course. Emoji thumbs up, emoji thumbs up. But that's what YouTube TV is trying to do by not caving into Paramount's higher price demands. Or your profit margin goes down a little bit. And we're talking micro fractions of a milliportion. Meet us in the middle, YouTube TV. That's all we're saying. And by the way, I don't want the amount of money it would cost me to go get an app that I'm never going to use. I did the free trial on that app. I never went to it again.
Hopefully you're not still paying for it.
But most people are saying YouTube TV. Dan Barngino says FUBU. It's great, and I won't switch. I've used all the others, but this one is the one that works best for me.
Oh, look
We
at
get all the
Fubu.
Braves games.
Look at Fubu being versatile.
Congrats. You get your Mike Soroka on.
Truly does take all of us.
And this is the guy that I think we all wish we could be, but we just won't be. Bob Greeby. I cut the cord in 2012. Humble brag. Every TV in my house has a Roku. I use an indoor antenna and Tableau for OTA local TV. Is this like NFL offseason talk or?
Okay. How'd you watch the championship game?
I use my parents' login for cable and son.
Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. You cut the cord, but you're stealing. Okay. All right. There it is.
I am the best at this, but I cheat.
Yeah. All right. Mm.
We're having a Barry Bonds discussion here. I use my parents' login for cable and sign into the Roku apps for channels I want to watch. They're never giving up cable, so there's no reason for me to pay for it too.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm sure it works. It just feels like a major hassle.
Also, give it time because eventually they're starting to crack down on that.
I have borrowed John's logins for certain viewing apps. It gets old after a while. When it gets changed or yours forgets it or you get a new device. Hey, John, can I have that login again? Eventually, you just buy it. But, oh well. So, yeah, we might not have the NCAA tournament. Get ready for that. Get ready for that. That's a real thing. Are we going to have spring football in the near future? We'll answer that question next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Some of these responses are fantastic, by the way. Peppa Princess says, wow. To my question on via Twitter, what service do you use to watch basic TV? Is that a service, or is that just, it's an impressive question?
Is that the audacity? Like, what are we doing?
Maybe that, so you took it in a negative connotation. I took it in a positive connotation of, wow, you're really asking this.
I thought more of a, wow, you're really asking this?
That too. Ron Dog 77777777 says YouTube.
Just the videos? Okay. So he's a kid.
There's something about people that just can't understand the basic context of a question.
Really? Maybe we should take a call.
Carlos, welcome in. You're on the Buyers Right Hotline, Carlos. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. So I want to know, how come you always talk about football?
I'm sorry?
You never talk about baseball. You never talk about softball. You never talk about tennis. You never talk about golf. It's always football.
Like we spent a decent amount of time talking about number 1 versus number 2 in basketball coming up Saturday.
And then you talk about basketball. At the end of the show, talking about who's the worst shooting percentage.
Do we need to talk about like the TGL, the indoor golf league on Friday nights? Would you like to discuss that? How about cricket? Do we need to get to cricket? Would you like to go there?
Yeah, do something different than football all the time.
Yeah, because nobody likes football. We should definitely get out of that. That's a bad business to be in right there.
I'm a Bama fan. But still, baseball just started. You ain't said nothing about the ranking, nothing about the girls' softball ranking.
We got Butch Thompson on the show tomorrow. Talk Auburn baseball. Alex Bregman, 3-year deal, $120 million for the Red Sox. Might play second, might play third. You want to go into what that means for the Boston infield?
No, he
the
can
advantage that he'll have hitting in the Green Monster.
Did he not listen
the
to
the AL East is upside down, guys. So we need to get into it. Tomorrow on Mac and Cube, the AL East is up for grabs. Juan Soto is in the other New York. The problem with your philosophy there, Carlos, is 89% of the people listening don't give a damn about the things you just brought up. We speak on the things that people care about.
I love it.
Also last night, number 14, Kansas State in women's hoops gets to 23-3, taking down Cincinnati 90-53.
Whoa, that's the last segment of the day.
I don't even think that really qualifies, but it's close. If we were going to go that direction, I would say number 7, UConn took down St. John's 78-40 last night in women's basketball. It's 24-13 at the end of one. B. Mayo had 10 points for St. John's.
Okay.
OJ sister?
Maybe.
Oh,
is that what you want?
Bro.
That's what we need? What, do we need a spring training update?
Oh, gosh.
Do we need to talk about Paul Skeen's off-season workout program?
Ronald Acuna batting practice?
Oh, did you see where the balls went in the parking lot?
I'm telling you. He was 4 for 5 for home runs in batting practice.
He hit him so far. Look how far.
Oh, WOW is actually an internet service, bro. It's internet and cable. Wow.
Both to get it.
Yeah.
Like Gucci and Bally.
It's there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Is that what they really do, though? They give you
internet, cable TV, and home phone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
all
like
right.
Bell South.
That's actually what we needed. Okay.
Do the ads for that.
I said, wow.
$370, Johnny. Okay. All right.
Otis Shea says, Rack is back. Todd McEwen. Who do you like in the Grapefruit League this spring? I got to see the pitching rotations first, Todd.
Got to.
I can't just give a prediction on that without being educated on it. Who's playing middle infield for the Brewers? And more importantly, are they in the Grapefruit League? Because nobody knows except Pat Smith.
Do you know what WOW stands for?
Rick Morton tweets in, y'all start talking about baseball in the regular season, I'm out.
That's it.
Same.
What about cricket,
Playboy.
though, Rick? Or women's hoops? He said he wanted to talk about baseball rankings?
Yeah.
Right.
Like the top 25?
Sure.
Yes.
It's all SEC. There you go.
Right. Pick your team.
I'll
and
get
rank.
Kendall Rogers on from D1 Baseball. We'll talk baseball rankings.
Yeah. What does WOW stand for?
Power rankings? World of Wheels?
No. Wide Open West. Wide Open West is the 8th largest cable operator in the United States.
Okay.
Was there not a Women of Wrestling before Glow?
Oh, there absolutely was.
Just the WOW?
Huh?
Yeah.
I think it's still on.
What? Like, seriously?
I think so.
Very surprised that wasn't canceled. both literally and figuratively.
68 needs programming, man.
Yeah, it's on Pluto TV.
Well, I ain't saying much.
Jolly tweets in, hey, I call Cubic. I listen to you dudes for the content you cover. I have other sources I can go to for hockey and other sporting interests. Soccer, baseball, social media, and Google are amazing. Are you trying to tell me, Jolly, that we don't give you good hockey coverage on this show?
Oh, boy.
Is that what you're trying to tell me right now?
I mean,
We're the Rangers when you need them.
Do we? Have we not gone to what the puck enough this season? Is that what you're telling me? Because I can tell you right now that the NHL scoreboard from last night gives me Canada 4, Sweden 3. No idea what the hell that means.
What?
There it is, folks, on YouTube watching right now.
Yep.
Oh.
That's all I do is give you the box scores.
4 nations, baby.
What?
Is this the World Classic of Hockey?
I don't know what it means.
I have no
it's called
idea.
4 nations.
It says NHL right there.
What?
Maybe that's their All-Star game.
You know NBA All-Star Weekend is this
Carlos
weekend.
wants to talk slam dunk contest.
Matt McClung. Just take him. He's winning it.
Yep. Is he active? Doesn't matter. He's in
Doesn't
it.
matter.
Hell, bring Dominique back.
He's in the contest.
Okay.
I am appalled right now at the phone call.
Wow.
Appalled.
Greg has rubbed off on you. You used a Paul.
That doesn't happen very
Somebody asked, are we going to talk about college wrestling?
often. If I knew anything about it, we would. I respect the hell out of those guys, but I don't even know who has programs anymore. Oklahoma State? Are they number one?
Right.
Iowa, I assume?
Minnesota.
Iowa's got to be up there. Minnesota's
Minnesota's
definitely
got
up
to
there.
be up there.
Is Brock Lesnar's singlet retired?
Hang him up. Somebody asked how the Capitals are doing this year, Cole.
Sweden won last night. I just told you.
This is wild. God.
We actually have talked tennis before.
Yeah. Cole loves tennis.
I don't watch it like I used to, but like we've had Federer, Nadal, Djokovic conversations of
Yeah.
who's the GOAT. Man. All right. Back to the drawing board. I guess we're going to have to look for a way to give you some added value here on Jocks. So I'll introduce you to my friend and wealth advisor, Tad Hill, your trusted retirement planning partner. Tad's a co-host of Retired with Freedom Radio and TV shows in Birmingham and Huntsville. Also designated by Forbes as the #1 financial securities professional in the state of Alabama, multiple years running. I do not think he has baseball rankings or cricket updates for you, but Tad, what do you have for us today?
Thanks, Cole. Today I want to talk about something that's usually on everyone's mind, and that is taxes. How do we reduce our tax burden as much as we possibly can? And one of the things that many of you probably don't know is that taxes are actually on sale right now. When the current laws sunset, taxes are going to go up. So if you've got a lot of tax-deferred money, 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, when that money comes out, it's going to get taxed at your highest marginal tax rate. If you've never had anyone analyze if you can get that money into tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs, we cover how to do that in detail in our retirement course that we teach at our office on Valley Dale Road. If you'd like to sign up for the next course, text JOX, J-O-X, to 205-988-0006, 988-0006.
This is a paid placement. Investment advisory services are made available through AE Wealth Management. For more information about Forbes rankings, visit Forbes.com.
Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Sunday, number 1 Wisconsin took down number 3 Minnesota in college women's hockey.
Okay.
What?
What was the score?
6-1. I'm just trying to keep
that's
you.
a beat down.
Trying to keep you updated here.
Let's go, Badgers.
Tomorrow we get Post versus LIU women's hockey.
Post cereal?
No,
Malone?
Post the team.
It's like Post University? University of Post? Post College?
Penn State and RIT tomorrow. RIT.
That's Rhode Island Technical Institute.
If you say so.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we need updates on?
I've got some cricket updates. The USA
Definitely need that.
is getting set to take on Namibia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at midnight.
I bet the USA loses that. I don't know. anything
No.
about it. I'm just
Head to
gonna say
head.
they're
Listen, the
gonna
head to head matchups, we've beaten them the last 5 matches, man. We're
win.
rolling.
When were those?
1802.
1802.
No, this was just a couple days. Well, actually, last year, September 22nd, we beat them by 7 wickets.
Look at Brady's Cricket League is picking it
Come
up. You said somebody asked about how the Capitals are doing this year.
Yeah,
55-36, first place in the Metro.
let's go.
Did not know it was a Metro.
Well, they've lost 1 straight, but I don't even know when that last loss was because apparently we have national hockey happening right now in the NHL.
They lost 1 straight.
Has anybody said what's happening? Like, no one's responded as to what's happening in hockey right now. I'm going to text my dad, see what's going on.
I know it's called Four Nations because I saw it on ESPN's crawl.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Sounds important.
Yeah,
Well, they went to overtime last night. Canada won.
Okay.
The Four Nations face-off. It's a round robin.
Uh-huh.
Not red. Round.
Yum.
What else do we need, guys? Anything else?
I have no idea. Somebody said, "Wait, there's a lot of intramural sports we need to get
A lot
to."
of them. We usually say this for the final segment of the show, but I will say over the weekend, Penn State dominated Iowa 30-8 in wrestling to pick up a Big Ten championship.
Oh man,
Talk about a blowout, absolute blowout winner, 30-8.
Domination.
line them up.
Penn State did win the coin flip matches at 149 and 157 pounds.
There we go.
Major decision from number 4 Shane Van Ness. That works.
Yeah.
Against number 2 Kyle Parko.
Of course.
Got an upset win with Tyler Kasich over number 1 Ja'Cory Teamer. And then won 3 others by bonus, along with 3 more decisions. It shows you the versatility of the Penn State wrestling team, that they can get decisions, bonuses, and the other kind of wins that I mentioned that I already forgot.
Dominating fashion.
Go ahead, Ja'Cory.
Started hot with a technical fall at 125 pounds from Luke Lilienthal.
Technicals are good.
Now, Iowa's number 26, Joey Cruz, picked up another tech fall at 165 pounds.
Okay.
And then Mitchell Messabrink, he took down number 2, Michael Caliendo. Now we get to the real ones. Heavyweight, Greg Kervilik finished the duel with bonus points by 2, overpowering number 11, Ben Quater of Iowa, 12-1.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. I saw that one coming.
Ben just hadn't been on his game last couple weeks. I had just trying to cut weight. Don't really know why.
I hate it for him, man.
Yep. 30-8, Penn State dominates. What a year for Penn State athletics, folks.
Everything's cool.
That is a triple up.
They are in everything school.
Everything's cool.
100%.
If only they had a runway.
It's the only thing they're missing.
Yeah, everything but that, I guess.
Good news is you don't have to travel far for college wrestling. All pretty much compressed right
That's right, yeah.
one area of the country.
Dang.
All right, so
Do esports count?
I don't even really know where to go with
clue.
that, but I can try.
Sports is in their name.
True.
It is recognized by our state.
And the NCAA.
Yeah. You get a championship for it. You get a trinket.
Let's be honest. Damien, our state owns the NCAA.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well,
Now.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while.
Guys before.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody texted in and says, "Great job, guys. Love the show. You still have an hour to get pickleball and archery."
Oh, we forgot handball. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, man.
The Olympics are coming up. We got to get ready.
The Final Four of handball, I don't know if y'all have seen it. It's pretty intense.
Hadn't seen the tape.
Yeah. I mean, Cal State Fullerton, they're usually one of the powers in the handball.
Really?
I have no idea, but it
Okay.
sounded like something they would be good at. Arizona State.
Feels like Berkeley would be the one.
The New Jersey Five is currently in first place in Major League Pickleball.
Oh.
The St. Louis Shock coming in second place, 54 points for the Fives, 52 points for the St. Louis Shock. Now, the Dallas Flash Pickleballers, 46 points.
Okay.
Third place, the DC Pickleball team coming in fourth, still eligible for the postseason, I believe.
Okay.
It has been a rough year for the Utah Black Diamonds. They don't get out much to play a lot of pickle. Only 14 points on the season. They're 3-15.
The weather's got them affected.
Columbus Sliders have slid all the way down to 11th place. They're 5-13 on the year. That's your Major League Pickleball update presented by Margaritaville. Mr. Nanner's tweeting into the show, no mention of at MLS kicking off next week. Do they kick off?
I don't think they stopped.
But that's not how you start a soccer game, by kicking off, is it?
I mean, you can't hand it off.
I'm sorry, match.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Just put the ball down. First kick. I don't know about kickoff. We will move on from all of the sports that you folks asked us to explain and spend more time on for just a moment as we get to the coach, Wimp Sanderson, who's brought to us each and every week by our friends at Coke and Piggly Wiggly. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I listen to your callers, and I listen to you sometimes. The game is more important nationally, probably. Nick Saban got more publicity than Coach Bryant did. The game is going to be huge, but the game is huge to the guy who's coaching the game, and that's me. And when I coached the game was bigger than life. You don't know this, and you're too young. None of these guys that listen to the show. Joel Eves at Auburn won 30 straight conference games. Don't tell me it wasn't. When I was in the 80s, teams are hard to beat. The personnel would play everybody home and home. Johnny D at Alabama beat Kentucky and Montgomery, the worst they'd ever been beaten. Basketball has been a little bit better than people think. You had people writing at the Birmingham News that only were Coach Bryant fans, and they never, ever did a very good job of doing a good job of really covering basketball. But now basketball is being covered. Alabama's terrific. Auburn's terrific. They're well coached. And I'll give you the answers to the questions that you may ask. I may have talked too much. Go ahead.
Well, first off, Coach, do you feel like we spend too much time on football on this show?
No, you have to.
Okay, thank you.
You have to. I think sometimes you may a little bit less on basketball. It's a little bit more important than you realize. But to answer that question, no. You've got, in order to please your sponsors and to please your listeners, it's a football state. That's the reason that I work my family out to be friends of the 4 football coaches and 4 athletic directors when I was the head coach and assistant coach at Alabama.
Coach, I want to just try to get you to describe what it means to this rivalry, what it means to this state to have these two teams facing off as number 1 and number 2 in the country on Saturday.
Well, it's quite different. But again, it would be no different to me if we were. I was coaching the game, and there was no number 1s and number 2s involved at all. But it is a great honor for these two teams to be that good. Bruce done a great job. He's done a great job at Alabama. And so with publicity, it's good because publicity is better this day and time. But where they are certainly is big, and it should be a great basketball game. Alabama is very, very good offensively. They score from a lot of different places. Fast breaks, cheap baskets, which are fast breaks, offensive rebounds, threes. Auburn does too. Auburn's very, very good defensively. They know how to play. They know how to defend people, and it's going to be a huge game. One of the keys to this game is going to be the offensive and defensive rebound. I mean, who's going to get the most shots? Who's going to have an opportunity to, on the offensive glass, to rebound, get it back, put it back in, get another shot, score again. And that's going to be big. On the defensive end, to try to limit your opponent to less than to one shot, and that's it. Won't happen all the time, but those are big factors that really people that get on the show don't really talk about. The rebounding is going to be very, very big in this game.
Coach, what do you think is the strategy for Bruce Pearl offensively? We've seen them go not as fast as Alabama, but they've played some up-tempo games, but they have the ability to kind of slow it down a little bit also. Do you want to, like to use a football analogy, do you want to try to limit possessions, hold the ball, run the clock, not allow Alabama to get running? Would that be most advantageous for his group in this game?
I think it's a good question. I would say just a little bit. You have to remember now, Chad Baker was hurt in the first half against Vanderbilt, and Janai scored 2 points against Vanderbilt in the first half, and Auburn was only 2 down. I say that to say this. They've got other guys on that team that can score, and they know how to score, and they'll do some things offensively that Alabama hasn't seen. The two problems for Alabama, as I jump from one to the other, is their turnovers. You know, the coaches don't like that. They have maybe too much turnovers. I don't try to coach your team. I'm not getting on here to do that. And sometimes they break down defensively. I do think that Alabama is so good offensively that on most every night they can overcome the mistakes that they make. Those two mistakes, maybe breaking down defensively and maybe turning the basketball over. They are that good offensively. So I would think that Auburn will try to cut down on their possessions. Yes.
And for Nate Oates, is it just business as usual? Do you try to do anything different to offset sort of how Auburn wants to operate offensively in this game?
I think it's probably business as usual. He's trying to correct what they do wrong, the pick and roll, the ability to rebound offensively and defensively, not quit turning the basketball over. As Dean Smith used to say, throw the ball to the open man. And everybody said, well, Dick Tracy. But quit throwing the ball to the guy you think is open and is not open. And I think that's big for them. The game is at Alabama, which I think gives them an advantage, just like the last game of the season will give Auburn an advantage. I don't know what kind of advantage, and I don't know who's going to win. But I think Auburn is very, very good on both ends of the court. Not as good offensively as Alabama, probably better defensively than Alabama. So it comes down to, Janai's had a great year, much better than I even dreamed he could. Mark Sears has to be played a certain way. Mark Sears has to be guarded without the ball, not after he gets it. And that is keep the ball off of him. If you can do that, then you've got a better chance against beating Alabama. If you can block out Janai, keep him from doing a good job going, left-handed, know where he is on the court. Let me tell you something. I've told you all this before. I'm going to tell you one more time. And the coaches and teams in the league, I think, miss too many baskets around the goal. The backboard is your friend, and the bank shot is your friend. And basketball is an angle game. So if you're on the baseline, you don't have that angle. But if you move up five steps, and you're inside there and get the basketball, and you have the opportunity to use the glass, to use the backboard's your friend. The one people that came out of the game for me were the guys who wanted to show their fannies and try to dunk the basketball and miss it. If they did that, they listened for the horn because it's fixing to blow.
What does this game mean moving forward? We know it's massive. It's 1 versus 2, Coach. It'll go a long way towards determining SEC tournament seeding. Mentally, emotionally, it'll be huge. But they're going to play again in Auburn at the end of the season and most likely see each other again in the SEC tournament, possibly March Madness. How much does this one just mean individually?
I think both of them mean a lot, Cole. Let me tell you why. If you win those 2 games and you're no doubt number 1, then you probably go to Atlanta to play. That's big when you get ready to the NCAA tournament. The other places are out west. They sent me out west my last year. Indianapolis, I think, is the next one. But if you can go to Atlanta, Auburn will fill the gymnasium. Alabama will have a lot of people there, and it will be a home court advantage. So I think based on that, based on where the committee, and I always looked at the committee to see where they were, see what their thoughts were. If Alabama Auburn's one of those 2 sweeps this game, or if Alabama Auburn loses a game they're not supposed to lose, and splits with Auburn or splits with Alabama, the where you're going to be in Atlanta is going to be huge. If you're going to be in Atlanta, it's going to be huge.
Right. No, it's Jay Billis said on our show a week or so ago, he thinks the SEC tournament is going to be more difficult to win than the NCAA tournament.
Well, it might be. The ACC is, when I was coaching, the ACC was good from top to bottom. The Big Ten was very good. Out west, we had great teams. UCLA, we went out and played UCLA once when they were number one in the country. We played North Carolina. It's not quite as good now. The league beats up on each other. This league does. But unless I say this and you think I'm prejudiced, the league in the 80s was great. Did it have the publicity that you have? And the players were just as good or better in the 80s. And we played everybody home and home. And I'm not taking anything away from this game. I bragged on the game, and I think it's a highly visible game, more so than some of the games that we played. It's not for me, because every time I teed up against Auburn, it was highly big. It was what I lived for, and I was not very nice to be around that week.
I mean, some of the players that you had, Coach, some of the other players in the league. You want to talk about Jamal Mashburn? You want to talk about Shaq? I mean, you want to talk about obviously Barkley? I mean, there's top 50 all-time players in the history of the NBA that were playing against each other on a regular basis. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Chris Jackson, whichever one you want to reference him as, at LSU. I mean, you had a laundry list of guys, McDyess, Sprewell, whoever it was. I mean, I don't think a lot of people that have an idea of what it really was would push too hard back that, I don't know about better, but you could say just as good. And specific because you had those guys for 3 and 4 years back then.
Yeah, that's right. We didn't have any transfer rules. You stayed with your coaches most of the time, because I'd have had some guys transfer out probably, but it wasn't. Your team was intact, and that means as you play, you're exactly right. As you play sophomores, juniors, seniors, your team has been together, and your teams are really tough. There wasn't none of this. We go to Kentucky this year, but they come to our place next year. 3 teams in the SEC right now play people twice. We didn't do it like that. We played everybody home and home, and it was a Booger Bear schedule.
You played against you coached against a lot of great players, as you just said. Who was the guy that you dreaded coaching against the most? The individual player.
Oh, I don't know. When I was assistant coach, it was Pistol Pete, probably. We held him 64.
Bad box score of the day right there.
Yeah, when I said I was an assistant coach that year, I said I wasn't in charge of that game. So, you put your assistant coaches in charge of certain games. But anyway, I don't know. We had when I get off this show, I could remember telling you a pile of guys that.
Would it not be Shaquille O'Neal just because of what he offered?
Yes, he was great. He was a great player. Yeah, we had Buck Johnson, we had Robert Ory, we had Sprewell, we had Gary Waits, we had a pile of good players. Terry Connor. I can't name them all, but I worked really hard to be darn sure that we got the players in the state of Alabama. And the reason for that was I felt like that since the press wasn't great, they didn't cover us as well as they should, but that people would come out and see us play. They had seen those kids play in high school, and I think Auburn's done a pretty big job getting in-state players in football this time. I'm not going to switch over to football, but I think, and it's not as big as basketball, probably. And attending the games, they're going to go anyway. But we had players in the state of in Birmingham, and we had a situation where Gene Bartow came into UAB, that the arena's named after him, and Sonny Smith was at Auburn, when I was at Alabama, and it was a cutthroat deal trying to recruit guys over them, and when Bartow came in, he had a bigger name certainly than I did, and he had probably a little bit bigger name than Sonny did, but that didn't bother me. We got them all but about one.
Who's the more difficult shooter to defend, Allen Houston or Chuck Person?
I think we defended Allen Houston great. We played Tennessee in the finals played Tennessee in the finals of the SEC tournament in Nashville. We just got through beating Auburn, ready to play. Out in Houston comes out and says, I hate to play Alabama. Every time you try to play them, they're right in your face. And we beat them pretty badly. And out in Houston's hard to defend. Who'd you say besides out in Houston?
Chuck Person.
Yeah, Chuck Person's a really good player, great player, and went on to the pros. But out in Houston was, and both of them are probably, I don't know who was hardest to guard. The one thing that you have to understand, you have to contest shots. That doesn't mean that you get to the three-point shooter late, but you've got to get a hand in his face, get an arm up. I broke every rule in the book when we defended the three-point shot. We went after him and we left our feet. I had a bunch of guys that could leave their feet. We left our feet to stop the three. And bro, they didn't make. Now you said to me, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when you leave your feet? You got 4 on defense. I told the guy behind that three-point shot to guard whoever was there. If he faked it, took the ball on the dribble to guard him. But we're going to defend the three-point shot. If you play Alabama and you don't half-ass do it, you don't half-ass defend the three, they'll beat your brains out. Anybody will. But it's a difference in. And when I got in the dressing room at the halftime, I wanted to know how many contests we had in that game. If we didn't have a bunch of contests, I mean, really, they all knew what a contest was. Then that was our talking point at halftime. Try to get them to do everything they've got to contest the three. Now, I contest the three, and I don't go after the ball, just as I said at the beginning of the show. Y'all give me a lot of time today, and I appreciate it. So I said at the beginning of the show, you better get the rebound because there's going to be a long rebound. But I don't want to just get in their face. I want to get up. I want to jump up and run at them and make it difficult for them to score. Is that good basketball? No. No, it's not. You're supposed to stay on your feet. I didn't do that. I passed.
We kind of forget that Vernon Maxwell played at Florida. What was he like as a Gator?
Vernon Maxwell darn good. They had Norm Sloan. Norm was hard to coach against. He's very, very good. His wife sang the national anthem. Norm Sloan was tough to play. We beat Florida for the championship in Knoxville with Norm Sloan. We had Keith Askins was on our team. He was in the Alabama Sports Hall of Fame. He drilled him with a bunch of threes that day, and we won the championship. We got the final game 9 out of 12 years, won it 5 times. We just didn't do as good a job as I wish we could have done in NCAA tournament. I'm not looked upon very favorable with that. We got to the Sweet 16 6 times and didn't make it, and so that's my fault. We did everything we could do. We played some tough teams. We played North Carolina when they had the great player. I'm going blank. You know what I'm talking about. North Carolina, and we held him to 13. They beat us 5, and they won the national championship.
You referenced.
I can't even think who I want to tell you about. I can't even tell
you. Is it Kenny Smith? Kenny Smith.
Oh, the great player from North Carolina.
Eric Montross. Dante Calabria.
No.
Rasheed Wallace.
A great player.
Jerry Stackhouse. Michael Jordan.
I know Michael Jordan.
He was a good one.
Yeah.
You brought up Pistol Pete earlier, Coach. It sounds like with the way you were describing him that as insane as some of the folk hero stories sound, it may have been better than what people even describe him as.
Well, his daddy was his coach. They were at North Carolina State. They hired him at LSU. He brought Pistol Pete with him. He wasn't Pistol Pete at that time. He was a young kid. He had the floppy socks on, and he made every shot. He passed the basketball better than anybody you've ever seen. He's one of the few guys that can look left and throw right and get the ball there. I don't want you to look one way and throw it the other and turn it over. I had Enos Wiley. He was that kind of player. He would look left and throw right, and but he was a great passer. His defense was just so. One of the great shooters of all time, and he had a great game against us. We won the game. I wasn't the head coach. We won the game by 1 point at our place. They had a big fight after the game. But I was in Little Rock coaching. Pistol Pete was calling games, and we rode on the bus together. And I got a real feel for him as a person, and he was absolutely great. When he passed away, he had 4 or 5 holes in his heart when they checked him to see if he was going to live, and he didn't. But he could shoot it. He could help you shoot it. Did he shoot it too much? No. But he shot it a lot. His dad was the coach, as I said, and he was an unbelievable player. And all the accolades that people have given him, he was great for basketball.
Well, Coach, we always appreciate the time. We know each and every week you're brought to us by our friends at Coke and Piggly Wiggly.
Well, let me say this to you. I appreciate you for letting me talk basketball this long. I've said some things that.
We got complaints earlier, Coach, that we only talk football, so I figured this would be a good time to try to switch that up.
That guy can take a hike. Whoever called in on that, he can take a long walk on a short bridge. You got to do what you got to do to make your thing work. Anyway, Piggly Wiggly and Coca-Cola. I've been drinking Coca-Cola all my life. Piggly Wiggly, Stanley and Andy, they're great. Piggly Wiggly's got 9 locations in Birmingham and all over the state of Alabama. Walk in with a frown on your face, walk out with a smile on your face. Piggly Wiggly's the very, very best. Go by there and tell me you heard us on the Mac and Cube, and let me keep doing the show. Hey, I can't believe you that kept me on this long. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Coach. We love it. We love talking to you. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
The Coach Wimp Sanderson joining us on the Buyers Right Hotline. He's with us every week thanks to Coke and Piggly Wiggly. If you questioned some of the ridiculousness of Pete Maravich, I will give you one number when we come back on just how insane he was when he was at LSU. And we talk sometimes about records that will never be broken. I'll give you one that will not be touched. Again, we are in the middle of flu season. Make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters. 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a train. A wild Pete Maravich number next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Good news, our friends from Bryn Mawr will make an appearance in the Bad Box Score of the Day for the first time this calendar year. That comes your way in 20 minutes. I told you before we went to break I would give you a fascinating Pistol Pete number. I'll give you a couple. We talk sometimes about records that will never be broken, whether it's Cal Ripken Jr.'s consecutive games played streak, DiMaggio's hitting streak. There are a lot out there. Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points in a game. Pete Maravich's all-time leading scorer for a career in SEC basketball history. That probably wouldn't surprise many people. The margin in which that lies might surprise you. Allen Houston is second all-time with 2,801 points scored in his Tennessee career. Great player, great shooter.
Yes.
Except when he played Wimp.
Oh, yeah.
Pete Maravich had 3,667 points. He's almost 1,000 ahead. I'm scrolling down. The closest I can get is 2008, Chris Lofton at Tennessee, and he's 11th place all time. The next closest I can get is 2013, Kenny Boynton at Florida, and he's 23rd all time. Quindary Witherspoon at Mississippi State, 2019, 26th all time. Sindarius Thornwell, South Carolina, 2017, tied for 33rd all time with Shaquille O'Neal. That record will never be broken.
Even with a three-pointer.
I don't care how good NIL is. Guys coming back. No one is ever scoring 3,667 points in their SEC basketball career again. Ever. Never, ever. Never, ever. Not going to happen. So what about ridiculousness past that? Pete Maravich is responsible for the highest individual scoring average in the history of the sport at 44.5 points per game. Pete Maravich is responsible for the second highest scoring average in the history of the sport at 44.2 points a game. Pretty insane, huh, John?
I can't fathom that. That's wild.
Pete Maravich is also responsible for the third highest individual scoring average in college basketball history with 43.8 points per game. He averaged 44.2 for his career per game. I'm going to say that one more time. He averaged 44.2 points per game in his career. He played 83 games. Now, the oddity in all of this is his LSU teams won 49 and 35.
Oh, so he's Luka. Okay, no defense.
Stop it. Some may say James Harden before there was a James Harden.
It's Westbrook. Oh, okay, all right. Actually,
Now, they did go 22 and 10 and 69 and 70. 13 and 5 in the SEC. The top three scoring averages ever in the history of the sport. Not some random guy from Albany or some guy who just went nuts one year at Drexel. Pete Maravich, all 3 years. No one ever averaged more points per game than his freshman, sophomore, and junior season. Insanity. Complete insanity. All right, we'll be back with more Mac and Q right after this. All right, we're going to get to Dennis Dodd here in just a moment, talk about a potential new governing body in college football with a massive split that would have taken place as well. Quickly, I just came across these during the break. I have to share these. Pete Maravich holds the NCAA record for 50-point games in a season with 10 50-point games in 1 year. He also went 3 consecutive 50-point games. Most career games with 50 points, 28. Most career 40-point games, 56 40-point games. That's enough about Pete Maravich. We'll go to Dennis Dodd now. Sorry, Dennis, we got distracted talking about Pistol Pete in our previous segment, and some of the numbers are just unbelievable, and we got a little carried away.
Yeah.
Wanted to bring you in.
No worries. Go ahead. Yeah.
Wanted to bring you in and talk about your article that's up now, CBSSports.com, on a potential new governing body in college football. Dennis, we've kind of all seen this giant split coming for a while. I think maybe it's a reality that some people just don't want to come to grips with and thought it was going to come. It feels like, based on your article yesterday, this could be maybe more real than it's ever been.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost how you define split. I mean, I think in practical terms are already there. I have every confidence that later this month, the SEC and Big Ten are going to go into those CFP meetings and demand automatic qualifiers and probably get them. It tried last year, didn't go over, but we all know they have the leverage. This is a separate issue in the House settlement where they're going to, overseen by the court, establish an LLC and then have a CEO with a board below him that is going to oversee, adherence to the $20.5 million. So I'm fascinated, and I don't think they know how it's going to work. I'm fascinated by brother judging brother, because whoever this person is going to be hired by those 4 conferences to penalize them. And I'm just fascinated to see how that goes.
Well, I kind of brought up the analogy earlier, Dennis. Do you think Roger Goodell really runs the NFL, or do you think that a certain group of owners run the NFL? And I think most of us would agree. Yeah. We think the owners do. So is this just a figurehead you're putting in place to be able to stand in front of a microphone and tell people how things are? Or do you really want somebody that can actually govern?
Well, it would seem, we'll see how much power this person is given. Greg Sankey is, a lot of people think, is the most powerful person in college sports. This person isn't going to be Greg Sankey. It's going to be some sort of neutral, I guess, objective person that they're going to get either within college sports or without college sports. The comp I give for it, and I didn't put it in the story, is Charlie Baker at the NCAA. No matter what you think of him, he was way outside the loop. I mean, he was a governor of Massachusetts in a Republican in a blue state who was credited for, bipartisan, bringing people together across the aisle. His only connection to college sports was that he had been a Harvard basketball player. And we can debate about how good a job he's done, but it's that kind of person I think they'd be looking for. Now, again, how much power does that person have?
And you state in your story that an executive board, based on sources you spoke to, would probably be weighted towards the SEC and Big Ten. I think most of us would feel like that we would agree with that. We would believe that. What would this mean for everyone else, essentially, outside of this Power Four, in your opinion?
Well, this is going to be for the Power Four because, just simple economic terms, most everyone, if not every school, those 67 are going to be able to afford revenue sharing, the $20.5 million. Almost, well, I don't want to put numbers on it, but let's say more than half of those schools below that point will not. This is an opt-in. You don't have to do it. You could just do, if a school just wanted to do football, just wanted to fund football or fund it half of that $20.5 million, you can. But I think just because of who they are, they're all going to fund it at $20.5 million.
Wild to think about kind of where we're headed. Slided towards the SEC and Big Ten. What exactly do you think that would mean? More automatic bids for those 2 conferences, be it basketball, football, other areas, or revenue sharing leaning more towards those leagues? What would that end up meaning?
Well, they get what they want. Now, what you're talking about with the basketball tournament is a different discussion. Yes, I think there's going to be expansion by 6 to 8 teams, whatever it is. Greg Sankey has kind of more than hinted at that may happen. But again, those 6 to 8 spots aren't going to Monmouth and Fairfield. They're going to the 11th team in the SEC or the 10th team in the Big Ten. We know that. They want those spots. They have control of college football. And LLC, there are 2 LLCs now in college football playoff, and now this thing, whatever they call it. I think they'll next go after the NCAA tournament. Not right now, in a period of years, because one of the things that bothers these commissioners, and not just the Big Ten and SEC, is that they're playing for units every year, some more than others. ACC gets more units than other conferences, maybe. They want what the college football playoff is about, where a team can play for $20 million, which is what both teams got for playing in the championship game. I don't think the winner got any more. In fact, I'm sure of it. They both got $20 million. They want that. They don't want to play for a unit that goes to the conference coffers. And I think they'll go for that whatever form that takes, whenever this TV deal ends. And I think it's in 2031. Mark Emmert signed a terrible deal. It was way under market. And I think the stakeholders know that, and they want to get hold of college basketball, but that's another discussion.
Just make sure I'm clarifying this. Are you essentially saying that these 4 conferences are going to, at some point in time, try to take the NCAA tournament?
I think so. I mean, again, it's a pie in the sky thing.
Sure.
Or if not take it over or have enough clout within the NCAA to change the revenue distribution, if that makes sense. They've done it with football. I just think they're going to do it with basketball. There's too much money there. There's a larger story to be done on how undervalued college sports are. The likes of Val Ackerman, who's great in the Big East. I'll just give you one example. She wanted to break off the women's tournament for a separate TV contract. Well, that didn't happen in these negotiations. It didn't happen in the former negotiations. I think there's unbelievable sponsorship money to be made in the NCAA tournament. Who vets these sponsors for the NCAA? Would Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti and their people like to get in there and say, how much money can we get for the NCAA tournament? I think it would be a lot more than it is now. College football is underrated. I went to a conference in Las Vegas in December, and somebody got up there and said by a tune of $4 to $5 billion a year, there's money that is being left on the table in college football. So, big picture, I think that's what this is about.
Dennis, looking into all of this, discussing all of this, understanding a lot of it more so than myself or our listeners, what are we really up against in April? What is that decision going to be made? Is it going to be clear cut when it's made? Is it going to be understood and followed once it is put in place? I'm interested just to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, great question. From the people I talk, you're talking about the House settlement.
Correct. Yes, sir.
The people I talk to that are closer to it than me, they all think that Judge Wilkin is going to approve it. I think she's got a 2-week window after April 7th to hear objections and to make adjustments to the settlement itself. I think she's going to approve it. What's going to be fascinating, and what I tried to point out in the story, is that, look, people are cheating right now. What's this going to look like when somebody tries to go over the $20.5 million? And what are the penalties? What are the realistic penalties? What if somebody does it, they're discovered, and what are the penalties? There are no crippling penalties in my opinion in the NCAA anymore. You can fine somebody, but they're not handing out postseason bans. Michigan's not going to get a postseason ban, and that's the only thing that matters. So I talked to one person about this, and it was Jason Montgomery. He's a former NCAA investigator, great guy. He goes, here's something that might really hurt if they go over the $20.5 million. You withhold some amount of that money as a penalty. That will hurt your bottom line. When you're contending for talent, when we enter this pay-for-play era, Baylor, during the sexual assault scandal, got fined 25% of its revenue from the Big 12 in 2017. Well, that was $7 million and $30 million. That hit home at Baylor, even though Baylor's got a lot of money. Think of that had he took away half the money of somebody who cheated. Now, they'd all have to agree to it. They'd all have to abide to it. But I think that's probably going forward one of the most meaningful penalties in this.
It's crazy to think about, Dennis. We really appreciate your time. Great article that was up yesterday. We'll send it out from our Twitter feed and let our listeners see it, but appreciate you hopping on and discussing it today.
All right, guys. Thanks, Cole.
Thank you. Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports, on potential new horizon of college sports. The Power Four breaking away to be governed by a new committee with a CEO. But I think he brings up a great point, and you're governing yourself. And that oftentimes does not work the way that it's intended to. How would that work? Would it work at all? Because you have to agree, like Dennis said, to those terms that are going to be put in place. And then normally when people are punished by said group, they don't want to go along with it. It's easy to go along with your CBD store. If you need better sleep, better focus throughout the course of the day, maybe something to curb the appetite a little bit, trying to drop some weight, the Trim by SunMed on the shelves now at your CBD store, largest brick and mortar CBD retailer on planet Earth. Go by your CBD store, one of their 3 locations, Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver, Trustful just off 459. They can help your pets out as well. Arthritis, anxiety for your pets, skincare, gut health for your pets. They have products that can help with that. Skincare for you, gut health for you as well. Just help your daily routine be better at your CBD store. First company to have USDA certified organic oil supplements. Your CBD store, where good health hits home. A couple bad box scores of the day when we come back next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 8:51, Thursday, February 13th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Watch live on YouTube every day. If you missed the show, you can catch up on YouTube as well. Just go back, watch it. Search Jocks 945. Also, apps in your app store, iPhone, Android. Download that for free. You can find all of the podcasts there. Let's get to our bad box scores of the day.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
Intentional grounding, offense number 7. It's a 10-yard penalty. I'm talking to America here, excuse me.
That's the game.
All right, we'll start in women's JUCO basketball. The Central Georgia Tech College. John, I feel like you should know this.
They're the Wreckers.
They're not.
No, they are the Tigers.
They're the Titans.
Titans.
They took on the South Georgia Technical College. It's a rivalry game. You throw the records out when these two teams meet.
They're the Peaches.
They're not.
No. They are they're the Cougars.
They're the Jets.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And they soared past the Titans 113-33 last night.
Wow.
That's a damn near triple up.
South Georgia Technical College shot 44 of 92.
There we go.
11 of 36 from 3. They grabbed 67 rebounds in the game.
They wanted it.
They did, and they got it. 113-33. That's why it's a bad box score of the day. Also, bad box score of the day. Our old friends, the Bryn Mawr. I cannot believe y'all don't.
Are they the Owls?
They are the Owls.
Remembered.
They went down too, and we have had this team before, not as much this year. The Johns Hopkins.
They are the Pioneers.
They are not the Pioneers at all.
The Lakemen.
The Colonels?
What? No, they're the Blue Jays.
Blue Jays.
Right there on the tip of your tongue. You had it. It was there waiting for you. You knew that. It was there. Johns Hopkins didn't need a Band-Aid for this win. It was 91-35.
Oh, boy. A lot of broken spirits.
Your score at the half? 50-12.
Ooh.
Johns Hopkins out-rebounded Bryn Mawr 52-29.
Oh, gosh.
They shot 35 of 69 for the game. They were only 3 of 17 from 3.
Okay.
Off the bench, Johns Hopkins outscored Bryn Mawr 56-17.
Okay. They got depth. Got a lot of bodies they can put in.
I feel like there may have been a bit of a size differential in this game because Johns Hopkins also outscored Bryn Mawr in the paint 64-14.
Oh, boy. It didn't go to a zone. They must have just stayed man-to-man the whole game. Like, make it at least tough down there.
For Johns Hopkins, 12 players scored.
There we go.
4 of those in double figures. Bryn Mawr shot 14 of 61.
Ugh.
4 of 14 from 3. They did go to the free throw line 9 times.
And they made
3.
All right, well. Could have been worse.
Listen, we can go to 14 of 61 from the floor. By the way, they only grabbed 8 offensive rebounds on those. 4 of 14 from 3 is going to happen.
Right.
3 of 9 from the free throw line tells me you just don't care.
I can't coach that.
They were done.
They're uncoachable. That's bad.
They only turned it over 24 times.
It's actually reasonable.
In the game, 24. So, yeah, 3 of 9 from the free throw line is disgusting. I can't help you with that. I don't know where to go with that.
That's the ref's fault. They only got there 9 times. If they'd have got there 19, it'd have been 13-19. That's respectable,
right.
But no.
They didn't want it bad enough.
Yeah,
they were aggressive.
They did not make that happen that way. All right, so those are your bad box scores of the day: 113-33 and 91-35. Would McElroy allow those as all timers? Do we think?
Anytime Triple Dig makes a play, I think that it credits an all timer. It's close.
Triple digits versus the 30s.
Right. Like
I feel like is a fair.
That's all time.
It is a very fair.
Bad
the
box
approach
score triple up category. Yeah. That
you qualify. You're
in the conversation. Yeah.
Well, Bryn Mawr has not made many appearances to our bad box score of the day.
So they're improving
this season.
They're improving, but still losing. So they're right there. They're getting better.
I don't know if I would even go improving.
Oh,
I think that would be a stretch. Yeah. We did miss, by the way, Northland Community and Technical College both which is probably why they did what they did to Minnesota North College Mesabi Range.
Oh, boy.
Mouthful.
But when you take a community and a technical college and put them together against a North College Mesabi Range in women's junior college basketball, you win 88-29.
Okay. A whole community. The whole community, and that's all they could do.
Yeah, but they took 2 colleges against an entire range. And still blew them out. We weren't able to dive into that one, but I did want to at least point out that one happened in our bad box scores of the day. We're back tomorrow with Bruce Pearl and Butch Thompson on All Barn Radio.